And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Claret and Booze. We've got a stand-in for Mickey tonight, so we've got Gio who's jumped in at the last minute. Thanks very much, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Warm. Went for a walk. Got sunburn on top of my sunburn. But I'm feeling good actually. Do you know what? It's fun. Winning football matches is fun, and I think
Forgotten the
because I've
feeling.
sort of it's because I've sort of given up with the season. I'm able to almost like take the piss out of the fact we won. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
feeling good.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around at the moment. I mean, look, for me, it was. I know you felt similar to me pre-game, didn't you? I think everyone did when you saw that lineup. Everyone collectively, I think, in the West Ham fan base went, "What the fuck is that?" I don't know whether you saw Nicky Hawkins' his pre-match stream that he put up on West Ham fan TV. It was
No, I didn't.
they was in the stadium and they were
Right.
saying, "Why have we made this trip?" It was him and Marshy. I didn't, so I think everyone did feel the same, but yeah, I wasn't. I say I wasn't expecting to win. I was, but I wasn't expecting to win once I'd seen that team, if that makes sense.
It
I
makes
think that kind
complete
of
sense.
changed my mindset somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting a draw. Saw the team, then started expecting a defeat.
Yeah,
It didn't really make sense, to be honest with you. And I think, with the benefit of hindsight, I look at it. I think, well, actually, if you take Rodriguez out and put Paqueta in, it's an all right team, really. It's the same back three as last week. Sufal's replaced Emerson, Wan-Bissaka's gone
yeah,
over. And whilst I wouldn't want Ward-Prowse and Souček in midfield, he was never going to play Alvarez, and he's got his two strikers, which is what I thought he'd do. Now, I would prefer to have seen Fulkrug start.
yeah.
This is obviously pre-match, but I think it's only really one player away from being. But it was just shocking to see Rodriguez
Well, The
start,
the
and
the,
he,
the Guido one, yeah, Rodriguez. That
yeah,
for me, I was just like, where has that come from? I
yeah,
forgot he was with
because
us.
he's not played him at all. So
No,
like, you can't say, "Oh yeah, I've always rated him." Well, you've not played him for quite a few weeks now. You've just been sat on the bench, didn't even come on. So
yeah.
he's gone from like he's not even been in the conversation to starting. So it was a strange selection, but it worked.
What do you think's kind of I mean, I suppose we can all speculate. Do you think that there has been fallouts with certain players behind the scenes, and that's kind of forced his hand to pick that player? Or do you think it could genuinely be that maybe Guido's just impressed in training and he
I
thought we should
think
give him a chance?
I think Paqueta perhaps they decided wasn't in the right frame of mind to play
Yeah, yeah,
because
we could all see that.
yeah, because if he was, he would come off the bench at least, right? I think that's a
Mm,
fair assumption. So he wasn't in the right frame of mind to play. And I do wonder maybe they were intending on playing him, and then for whatever reason in the last 24 hours or something, have decided not to play him. And then it's between Rodriguez or Alvarez to go into the team, and he's decided to go with Rodriguez because Alvarez has been absent for a few weeks. So I don't know.
yeah, I know. Very, very, very strange, but it worked. It did work. I was sulking like a little baby. I told you before the game I'm not going to
Yeah.
watch it, didn't I? I said I'm going to have a barbecue, but of course I did watch it. I did watch it. I kind of cracked. I was on the verge of walking out the door, going down the pub with my missus, and going, no, not watching it. I've had enough. Can't believe this. I was having a real little tantrum, but I'm glad I did. I thought the first 20 minutes were really slow, really slow. He kind of naturally sort of felt his way into the game as he often does, but I don't think Man United were really kind of. Well, I'd say, I mean, they're just not a good team. I haven't watched that much of them. Is that typical of the way Man United play, what we saw
Yeah.
today? Because
Yeah.
shit, Gio.
Yeah. It's not. Honestly, it's not too indifferent to what they usually do.
Yeah,
They're quite rigid with their formation, that 3-4-3 with the box midfield and the two number 10s. He won't change from that.
no,
If anything, I would say was maybe even this is going to sound wild, a little bit better today because they had a mad right wing back, whereas previously they've had
yeah,
Mazraoui there or Dalot there and the other one on the left and Dorgu on the left, and there's less going forward. But I think Ahmad gave them something going down the right hand side. But yeah, generally been the nature of how they played under Ruben Amorim. And I've seen comments from him today basically saying, like, if this continues next season, I'm going to leave. Um,
it's strange, isn't it? Because if you look at it from our perspective, I was very much prior to Lopetegui coming in and Tim. We was getting all excited about the new managers before Amarim had gone to Man United. I was saying that obviously in the youth academy, they play that 3-4-3 system. You know, they've been doing that throughout the age groups, and I saw that Amorim was going to be the good fit for that, because that's what he played at Sporting Lisbon. He's come over here, but I think his system that he plays is almost identical to the way that Potter wants to play, isn't it?
There's a
Almost.
lot of
Similarities.
yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I think comparing teams today, we had a bit more of like a one central attacking midfielder and Souček and two strikers, whereas they've got sort of the two number 10s and the one striker. But there's definitely similarities in the sense of the back three. I guess at Sporting, I think Amorim used his central centre back to come out of defence quite often, which he's not really got at Man U, because usually it's someone like Maguire. It's the more senior centre back. They went with Lenny Yordo today.
He's a good player, Euro, isn't he? He got
I
injured.
think he's fantastic, honestly. I
Yeah.
think he's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the summer going into next season. You can sort of see what he's trying to do, and you can see some players work for what he wants to do. But I think he's one of these coaches, perhaps, and I wanted him in the summer. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. I did, and I'm looking at it now thinking maybe we dodged a bullet there. But I think he's a type of manager that needs his exact players, or it just fails. It's almost a bit like Ange Postecoglou. I play this way only. You get me the
Yep.
right players, we're good. You don't get me
Yep.
the perfect players, we're going to struggle. And I don't know if there's maybe a little bit of that at Man United.
I mean, I think maybe Man United might need it to a degree. Do you put it this way? Can you see Amorim improving next year
Yeah,
if he gets? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he will, because I think
mean-
I think
I
it
mean-
go on.
they are 16th, Mick. It's difficult
Yeah,
to
so
not
they're-
improve.
Yeah, it's a low bar. It's a low bar. I agree. But what I mean is, I think at Man United, I think they've kind of been player driven for so long, haven't they? You know, player power. I think that's kind of what's seen the demise of so many managers and stuff like that over the years. And I think what they needed, maybe that's what it takes. If you're going to kind of bring in a new way of playing, you've got to be quite stubborn with you've got to. You can't just revert back to what everyone's done before. You know, it would
Yeah.
almost be, in a sense, if Potter just went back to playing, you know, the low block and hoofing it, even though we do see that quite often with some of this football. But it's an admission of defeat, isn't it, or failure? Sorry, I think if you do that. So I think yeah, I don't know. As long as we finish above them this season, I'll be more than happy. But I think there is something else as well that I've seen a lot on, and this was always going to happen. So I've seen a lot of people on social media that are absolutely over the moon with the 3 points, really, really happy. I've seen some people that are cynical and going, well, you know, papers over the cracks, stuff like that. I think both viewpoints are valid.
Yeah.
Based on the season that we've had, both viewpoints, it's okay to feel either way. It's okay to be cynical. Not everyone will flip their opinion of something based on one result. They just won't. They'll need a sustained period of something changing or being different before they change their viewpoint. So I think it's fair. What I don't think is fair, I'll be honest, is when you get a good result that we've all needed for an awful long time, and then you get fans that attack other fans with that win, and they say that I think is a little bit unfair. I think that's mad, and yeah, for me, and we have been seeing it, and that's one of the reasons Mickey hasn't come on today. I'll go on to talk about that in a little bit as to why he hasn't, because I think a lot of fans need the positivity. There's a lot of our fans are from a working class fan base. We've had a really, really tough period. It's been longer than a year. It's not just Lopetegui and you know Potter's fault. It was before that as well. So people not enjoying their football. It's been very frustrating. Coupled that with the stadium and everything else, and I think it's okay to be happy. It's nice. I think it is. It's important to enjoy these wins and these days when they come. So that was a reason Mickey didn't want to come on tonight, because he's not happy. He's happy with the win. He feels guilty with the way that he feels, if that makes sense. He said, I don't know why, and I feel bad because I'm not happy with this. He's like, for me, this is just papering over the cracks. Everyone's kind of, you know, we've just beat a shit. But this is how he feels. And he said, but I do feel really bad about it. He said it makes me feel, you know, not a real fan. But he said, what I don't want to do is come on screen and be negative when everyone else is happy and start pissing on everyone else's chips. So I think it is good to represent both sides of the argument. And I think there is I think it's okay to still be cynical after the season that we've had, even if you've had a win. Would you not say?
Yeah, 100%. Like today doesn't change anything for me in terms of the bigger picture. I'm happy
No.
tonight, and I enjoyed the win today, and I'll enjoy the win tomorrow and Tuesday, and then I'll probably start to weigh it off by the end of the week. But because it's been so miserable lately, and it's done with tongue in cheek. I'll sit here, I'll say Potter Masterclass. It wasn't really a Potter Masterclass, but
No.
I'll say it because I think it's funny and I think it's fun,
Yeah.
and we've not had anything to enjoy for quite some time now. So,
Nothing
so
at all.
I'm not going to apologise for enjoying today's win. Not that anyone's asking me to, but I won't. But in
No.
terms of
No.
like my view on Potter going into the summer next season, this doesn't even touch the sides. We could go on. I don't know because we'd have to do it for me to know how I feel. But my prediction on my feelings, where it would be that if we were to beat Nottingham Forest, that would be impressive because they've got something to play for.
Yeah.
And then we beat Ipswich, so we actually win today and then the next two. I'm not even sure that would be enough to change my mind much. It would give me a little bit of hope, but that's all it would
No.
give me. It wouldn't give me confidence. It would just because I'd look back and go, yeah, but man, you had the Europa League final. Ipswich had nothing, and the Forest one's the only decent result there. So I think
Yeah.
I pissed on my own chips, really. But
Yeah.
I'm not putting pressure on myself to change my mind. It's just that I think there's been,
I don't think we need to change our minds yet because
we've gone
the
8
manager's not going to
games.
change. He's not going to change. So we're going to see him next year. I think that's when
Mm,
the real judgment can be made once he's got a few of his
yeah.
own players in. And if it's the same as what it's been the tail end of this season, then there you
I'm
go.
gonna, I'll be the negative one here, ironically, but we got a little bit lucky today. Like
Mate, 100%.
his, I didn't enjoy his
100%.
subs. We started defending with our backs to the wall as
Yeah.
if we were 17, but we almost finished the game like if we lost, we dropped into the bottom three or something. We were
I
defending
know.
for our lives at one point, and the subs were just getting more and more defensive. And it's something we've seen in other games. And in those games, it's cost us points. It didn't
He did
today.
he did exactly the same thing that he's done in
Yeah,
prior games where it's bitten him on the arse.
yeah, and it didn't
Yeah.
didn't do that today. But
No.
had you know Man United taking their chances, because they had plenty of them. But I say plenty. They had a few. They had enough to warrant a minimum of one goal anyway.
Yeah.
Um, it would have been a completely different conversation we're having tonight. We'd be sat here going, those bloody subs of his again. But because we've got away with it, I say again, a bit harsh to use that, but because they haven't punished us,
Yeah.
Man U, and they didn't start trying until the 70th minute. But the reality is, those subs made us worse. And it's something that we've seen pretty much every game now. He needs to get better at that. So there's actually, while I'm all fun and jovial, there are actually concerns. And now the good performances of some players today aren't going to exist next season because they're going in the summer. But actually, these substitutions and this mindset, that's still going to exist next season because he's still going to be here and he's still going to have that mindset. Because if you're going to be cautious 2-0 up with nothing to play for, then you're going to be cautious when you're 1-0 up.
Where
Yeah.
it means absolutely nothing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I'm very much the same as you. I am. I mean, look, I was very, very happy with the 3 points today. I'm really happy basically because it meant something today. We jumped
Yeah.
above Man United and Spurs. Right,
Yeah.
we did. That's worth 6.1 million. Is it 6.2? Is it 3.1 million?
Something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, something like that. Anyway, so it meant something. But more importantly, we're above Man United and Spurs. It is quite funny that for me, I don't know how you feel about this season. It's possibly the worst season to be a West Ham fan since the Avram Grant one. It's been that enjoyable. It's been that shit this season. It's been terrible. So for us to have a season that bad, if we do manage to finish above Man United and Spurs, it would be quite amusing. It would be. I know they've got a final, but one of them's got to lose.
Yeah. Exactly.
There is one alarming thing that I saw today from today's game. I think Man United are worse than Spurs, and I fancy Spurs to beat them in the final. I find that alarming. I weren't happy with that. I thought I didn't expect Man United to be that shit, to be honest. And I thought they were quite poor. Don't get me wrong, they weren't entirely like you said. When we took players off and they was pouring forward, if Hoyland puts that ball away rather than sort of lazily side footing it at Areola, it was a great save from Areola. But if they score that goal, all of a sudden, we're under the cosh. They had quite a few chances, but nonetheless, I think when we played Spurs, they really did rest players, didn't they? And they kind of did.
Yeah.
They was playing at half mast. I don't know. I felt a little bit like Man United were trying in this game. They were.
Yeah, because I think the difference between Spurs and Man U perhaps is that I think there's one or two shirts up for grabs in the final for Man U's side of things. Mason Mount scored a couple of goals on Thursday, goes in the team today. Now, I thought he was poor, by the way, but prior to the game, if I was looking at the Man U team, I'd be thinking, well, Ahmad surely fancies his chance of getting in the team for the final. Mount should be fancying his chances at this point for getting in the final. Even Luke Shaw might be thinking, do you know what? If I put on a good performance, there's maybe a space for me. I think Ange Postecoglou's team is a bit more set in stone with Vicario, Udogie, Van de Ven, Romero, probably Pod over Spence. Yeah, you could probably guess the Spurs team already, whereas Man U, I'm not so sure. So I think they've perhaps got something a little bit to play for in terms of getting into the team for Bilbao.
Who do you fancy to win that final?
Unfortunately, Spurs. Ooh. But in a weird way, there's something I'm slightly going to enjoy because they want him gone.
They will.
Yeah,
they will definitely keep him. They will.
There's a mic drop moment coming here if he wins that Europa League, because he declared at the start of the season, I always win something in my second season, and if he goes and wins it, it's like, you
can't laugh at that. If he wins the Europa League, he's won a cup.
Yeah,
so I think they should keep him. To be honest, if he wins, definitely.
But it's hard not to go back to West Ham and Moyes and Prague and stuff like that.
I know.
We had this exact conversation that Spurs fans are having, and we know like the double-edged sword side of it, whereas they're experiencing that at the minute. So I think they'll win it, but I think the circus at Spurs is yet to hit its peak, to be honest with you, because I actually think Levy might still sack him.
I don't think he will.
I think he will. I think he'll sack him.
I mean, the right thing to do is sack him. Like the right thing to do with Moyes was not to sack him, because I think you can't sack a manager after, but you can part ways. You can say you leave with your head held high. That type of thing. So in the media, you can part ways. But ultimately, because what could have happened after Prague, everything's gone wrong since Prague, Gio. Anything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. It's gone continually downhill. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't just since Prague. We had the 35-game relegation battle as well, so it weren't perfect prior to that. But I don't know. Do you think? Well, let's go with the current manager, Potter, who neither of us are that much of a fan of, but he's here. Would we have been in a better position now, do you think, if you'd have gone and got someone like Potter after Prague and given him a chance to rebuild at that point? And do you think?
I don't know, because there's the sort of the elephant in the room of Tim Steidten as well, because we can't ignore his involvement in it. You know what I mean? I think it was just a shit show because it was allowed to be one by David Sullivan. I think.
But was that Tim's fault, or was that what Sullivan created?
I think it's what Sullivan created, but I also think it's what Kretinsky created. I think he gets away with it. He was the one that put Steidten in place. So Sullivan's got someone at the club that he doesn't want at the club in Tim Steidten. And then you've got, Tim Steidten and David Moyes butting heads. Now, I do think Potter would have been a bit more, for use of a better word, submissive than David Moyes, because he's used to the infrastructure working under others who are in charge of the transfer window. Yeah. So I think we would have perhaps avoided the clashing of two different people with different principles when it comes to the transfer market. So I think it might have been plain sailing, and I think it would have been an easier ride for Steidten.
So in a nutshell, didn't you say this on one of your shows, how we've got it so arse about face?
Yeah.
Arriving at a manager like Potter, who is a coach that would work in, go on.
Yeah, we 2 summers ago now, so 2023, we took David Moyes, who's an old school, old-fashioned, traditional manager who likes to have his fingerprints across most things with the football club, but especially when it comes to player recruitment. He has to have final say on incomings and outgoings. I mean, that's how he manages. But we took him and said, no, we're going to squeeze you into a head coach role. You're going to become a head coach. And then it didn't work, so we got rid of him. Then the guy that we had forcing Moyes into a head coach role. Said, "Oh, you're off as well. Away you go." Potter's come along, and who's a head coach, and we're going, let's stretch him out into the old school, old fashioned manager. So we had a manager, tried to make him head coach. Now we've got a head coach, and we're trying to make him a manager.
We're also stretching his assistant, Carl McCauley, who's never done what he's being asked to do now.
Yeah,
He's always just been an analyst, be that, when he was at Austrian, Swansea, I think he was at Brighton, then at Chelsea. Yeah. He's only ever been an analyst, and now he's being tasked with being more than that, almost being a director of football, going out there sort of negotiating. So again, this is something completely new to him as well. Now, I suppose in one sense, it could be interesting because there is a massive unknown here, right? As we've said, Potter's not really had this level of responsibility at a club before, I don't think. He was a coach, so I don't think you do have as much responsibility when you're just a coach as versus when you're a manager. He is a manager now. He's got his mate working with him, who he's vouched for, he's brought in. He's got a lot of pressure on him, but I don't think they've ever really. It's hard to judge them because although they've never done it before, it doesn't mean they're going to be shit at it though.
I think they did it in Sweden, and I'm only guessing. I'm guessing here, Nick, because for a club that size, they were in the 4th division in Sweden, right? I would be surprised if they had like a full-on backroom staff and stuff. I'd imagine it was Potter, his mate, and Kyle, and that was it. There wasn't much people there.
Is that why we're targeting people from that part of the world at the moment? There's a lot of Danish, Swedish. Are we trying to sort of? Are we going to have a load of Larsons playing for us and things like that?
Apparently, maybe we've decided to go and try and find the next Erling Haaland or something.
Maybe.
But I don't know. But did you see the right back we're linked with? Huskaskas or whatever his name is.
Honestly, I've not been following it. Go on, who is he?
Right, he plays for Copenhagen, young right back. He's going to jail for 20 days.
Perfect.
I'm not even kidding. It's on the Copenhagen.
What's he going to jail for?
Driving offences.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Really?
I promise you, it's on the Copenhagen's official website, right? He's going to jail for 20 days for driving offences. So I don't know if we've thought, we'll take advantage of that because they're going to have to ship him out and we'll have him on the cheap.
Get rid of one problem and getting another one. Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
The car park will be fun with him and Antonio.
We'll get onto the player ratings in a minute, because this is how they always go. It always goes mishmash. Where do you stand on this whole PSR thing at the moment? Because I think I know where you stand, and I was very similar to you. The only thing is, the only thing that's making me think that there might actually be something in it this time is when I was dicking around last January talking to people that were trying to bring people into the club, and I know that they were, and I was hearing what the club were trying to get these players for, which was a similar deal to what they got Ferguson for. They wanted a loan with no obligation. They didn't want to put any money down. That makes me think maybe they didn't have any money. Maybe they, or not that they didn't have any money. I think you've explained this before. Maybe they're at that limit. Maybe they are toying with PSR because I think we have been living off the Declan Rice money. That's been padding us out for a few years, isn't it? So do you think there could be some truth
another
in
year
it?
to go. No, I think
you don't.
No, I've come to my own conclusion based on everything. I don't want to bore your subscribers too much about PSR because I don't know where to start or what to try to explain. But the reason I think it's all bullshit is because of the stuff the club are coming out with. So this John Duran bid we put in January, remember, we bid John Duran. Now, it was way below what Villa wanted and stuff. However, the people involved in the club are still insisting that bid was genuine. But they said the reason we could do it is because it's a different set of an accountants period. It's not. The account period for PSR and cash flow are two completely different things. The PSR books do not depend on the actual accounts for the club. So what we submit every year and what we can go and read on Company House, that's the cash flow accounts, that's the money. The PSR accounts have a different date and it doesn't match cash flow. You can have nothing in your bank but still be able to spend money with PSR. Likewise, you can have loads of money in your bank but not be able to spend it because of PSR.
Yeah.
So in January, they said, "Oh yeah, but this is a different accounting period." It's not. The accounting period runs up until the 30th of June for PSR. So January and June this year are in the same PSR period. So the club are saying to people that will listen, "Oh yeah, John Duran, we did bid for him, but we've come out of that PSR period now." We haven't. It runs until the 30th of June. So we had money in January. We've still got money until the 30th of June, and
Yeah.
then we go into a new accounting period on the 1st of July for PSR. This is why Newcastle are going to have big bollocks this summer when it comes to money, because last summer they had to sell Elliot Anderson to Nottingham Forest and they had to sell Minta to Brighton for
Yeah.
PSR. This summer it's the opposite. They're now looking at clubs that have to sell players before the 30th of June so they can buy someone. And then basically on the 1st of July, it starts again. So am I making sense? You've almost got two different windows. So you've got one big transfer window, but you've actually got two windows when it comes to buying players in terms of PSR. So when
Yeah.
the club trot out all this bullshit, do one. Here's my theory. When it comes to PSR, you're allowed to lose 105 million over a 3-year period.
3
It's
years.
always a
Yeah.
3-year period. You're allowed to lose 105 million. We're making profit, but ignore that for a second. So you're allowed to lose 105 million. Here's the problem. Only 15 million of that is allowed to be the club's money. The other 90 million has to be put in by secure funding by the owners of the football club. Now, that's not a loan.
There's the problem. There's a problem.
You're not, Sullivan, Kretinsky, Trip Smith,
Yeah.
they're not allowed to loan the club 90 million. That ain't it. So it's basically equity shares is what they've got to do. And that's how you can lose 105 million. 90 million comes from the owners, which is my theory is we're nowhere near PSR limits, but we're getting to the point where we've lost 15 million and anything else we lose, they've got to cover it. And I think that's where the problem is. That's my theory. Okay. No one else's.
Yeah. So in a sense, we are getting close to PSR rules because by the book, they could put more money into it if they wanted to, if they chose to.
My theory is we could probably maybe lose another 90 million and be fine, but it's just they've got to pay for the 90 million.
Yeah. So in terms of self-sustaining money, I think that's probably how they work. I can't imagine them putting their own money in unless it's a loan with a high value interest payment.
Yeah,
they're not going to be doing it.
All cash flow and PSR is two different things. Cash flow is the ability to pay. PSR is the ability to spend. And I think we've maybe got an issue with the paying one.
Yeah, of course. And you did, and look, we do know that they misinform. They do it for fun, don't they? But you did catch Sean out on the Todibo misreporting as well.
The thing is, it's not a dig at Sean because, as we know, he's just a messenger. He's just passing on information he gets from. So people at the club a year ago said, "Oh yeah, we still owe 26 million on Todibo." So he's put it out there, and now they're saying to him, "Oh yeah, we owe 38 million on Todibo." So he's put it out there. Well, it can't be both. Which is it? And I think the one in August. But this is what they do. It's narrative. So in August, let's put it out there. We've got a really good deal on Todibo. It's really cheap. Because look at how good we are at negotiating. Look at how good the deal is. So all the fans, they want the fans to go, "Oh, brilliant. Well done, West Ham. What a bargain." But now they want the narrative to be, we are skint, we owe loads of money. So let's inflate all the fees and get it out there. Let's start pumping that out. And it's a load of bollocks, really.
Yeah. No. I agree. It is. I'll tell you what, going on to something completely different. By the way, for those that are asking where John is still part of the channel, but he's having one of his sabbaticals. He does. John doesn't overly enjoy. It's not the negative. He doesn't. He don't enjoy it when things are not going well at West Ham. He really doesn't. He doesn't like being negative. He doesn't. It stresses him out. It drags him down. He's busy. He's working. He's got a lot of stuff going on with his son. He plays for Leyton Orient. So that's the reason that John isn't on. He will be back on at some point. But John does dip in and out. He always has done. Mickey's just not on tonight because of, as I've explained already. But it is, so going back to what I was going to say about Nottingham Forest. Did you see the clip of the chairman going down and dressing down Nuno on the side of the pitch earlier on?
Yeah, apparently, I don't know, believe what you want kind of thing, but apparently it was because I don't know the context around this. I watched the Liverpool Arsenal game and then went for a walk and got some.
It was quite aggressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, but apparently it's to do with Awoni's injury. I think the medical team have messed up something to do with Awoni being on the pitch, or he shouldn't have been on the pitch and he was, or something like that. But yeah, it was. It doesn't look great.
Sounds to me like the guy was. He thought they were nailed on to be a Champions League club. I think the chairman did, because there was already articles coming out. Because does he own Olympiacos as well?
Yeah, yeah.
He owns Olympiacos, so he was going to have to stand down. Of course, he wouldn't. Stand
He
away
has.
from Nottingham Forest.
He's already done that. So people are saying, "So
What
why
was
are you
he
on the
doing today,
pitch?
then?
You're not a director. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're not a director. So why are you on the pitch? You shouldn't be
Yeah.
there. Like you've stepped
Exactly.
down. Get away." So
Yeah.
yeah, there was going to be issues if Nottingham Forest were in the Champions League with Olympiacos.
See, the pressure is on. I did call this with Nuno and Nottingham Forest with their low, deep defensive block football counter attack. I didn't think it would run its course in the first season like this, but it looks like
It has a
mate.
lifespan. It has a lifespan.
Yeah, yeah. Do you fancy Nuno? Do you fancy Nuno to tweak it and change him next year, or do you think he'll fall off a cliff? I reckon he'll fall off a cliff. That's my opinion.
I think they'll drop considerably in the league because they've got
Yeah.
European football. They're guaranteed European football now. It's just which competition. So it's likely at the moment to be Europa League that they go into, and I think they'll be okay. I think they'll do all right in that tournament. But as we know, it impacts your Premier League campaign, and not just us. Look at Spurs and Man United and stuff like that. They've made it to the final while possibly finishing 16th and 17th in the league.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Nottingham Forest are going to do that, but it does take its toll when you're competing domestically. And
it does without any shadow of a doubt. I mean, I think Aston Villa have managed it remarkably well. I have to say. I mean, I know they've spent money. They have. I mean, that was a sliding doors moment, Gio, wasn't it? We've said it before on this show. You know, was it 2-3 years ago when they had? How long's Emery been there now?
About 2 or 3 years.
2-3 years. You know, they were worse than us when they had Gerrard, and then they made that change.
Yeah.
And look at the difference. And I know, have they spent that much more than us? I mean, they've spent, but I don't think they've spent that much more. Have they?
Do you know how much Do you know how much of the revenue they spend on wages as a percentage?
Go on.
96%.
Really?
Yeah, they're
wages.
fucked. Yeah, they're like PSR. They've got to sell someone before that magic date, the 30th of June. We're in now. They've got to sell someone because they spend 96% of their revenue on wages. I mean, they've sold Duran, Philogene, Diego Carlos. Sold a couple of other players as well, but in January they went and took in Asensio, Disasi, Malin, Rashford. Their wage to turnover ratio is the highest, I think, if not the highest. I think it's second. That's the highest in like European football. It's horrifically bad. So they're now in this cycle where pretty much every season they're going to have to sell a player. Obviously, 12 months ago, remember, they'd sell Douglas Luiz to Juventus.
Yeah.
So they bought his missus as well. They bought his missus as well.
And what was it? Diaby they sold as well, didn't they?
Yeah, that's the other one. Diaby.
They sold Diaby. I'll tell you very quickly, for those of you that have your Gio watches all football. He does. So if you want to hear someone talk about the rest of Premier League, is it just Premier League you talk about? I think it is, isn't it, on Tartan
and
Gio?
Championship a little bit. Yeah.
And Championship. He has another channel. Honestly, you must watch a lot of football, mate.
I
watch a lot of football.
Yeah, it's. I watch at least one game a day, Monday to Friday, and then on the weekend.
Yeah.
What have I watched this weekend? Yesterday I watched Leighton Orient Stockport. Then I watched Wolves Brighton. Then I watched Bournemouth Aston Villa. Then today I watched Newcastle Chelsea, West Ham beat Man United, and then I've just watched the Arsenal Liverpool game. And I was going to be watching Wycombe Charlton, but then your fine self said, "Do you want to come on?" I said, "Yeah, no problem. I'll park Wycombe Charlton and pop on."
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But yeah, go and give that, especially at the moment, because I don't know if you're anything like me, people. West Ham content is like anything else. You know, I think we all need a bit of a break from West Ham sometimes. It is a little bit different. It is talking about other. It's a West Ham fan talking about the about other football. It is good. I've been watching them all, mate. It's really good. It's really good. So give that a look. Right, let's get onto the player ratings for today anyway. Just very quickly, we'll whiz through them. I won't put a graphic up. There's going to be no donkey, so there's no need. There's no need. We'll start with Areola. Gio.
I'll give him a 7. I think he was good. Well, 6 is average, isn't it? I'm
Yeah,
correct, yeah. So I'm going
yeah,
to say he was better than average, but I don't think he was. The reality was he had nothing to do until the last 20 minutes of the game or something like that.
yeah.
Gave me a heart attack with taking the longest ever delay with the
I saw
pass
that.
back.
Ahmad
Oh,
almost he caught him, didn't
kept
he?
flicking it. I'm like, what are you
I know.
doing? There's like 3 or 4 players to pass to. He just kept shuffling along until he almost got closed down. My one concern, my one frustration today, being honest, was if you watched Bournemouth Villa last night, Bournemouth in the second, they ran out of ideas in the first half. Second half, they were putting in a lot of crosses, and every cross, Martinez, catch it, catch it, catch it. He was just coming out and catching them all. Manu were whipping crosses in today, and our keeper just stood on his line. Now, you can't come get them all, but there was some that were hitting the 6-yard box, and he was
Yeah.
just. I think
He doesn't command the box.
yeah,
Does
a
he?
top keeper comes and gets at least a couple of them, takes the pressure off your defence and just catches it, goes to the ground, has a breather. But I'm not going to mark him down for it, Nick. I'll give him a 7. Good game.
Suchek 10. No. You're gonna give him a 7. I would agree. I do think he kept us in the game late on though. Not kept
Yeah.
us in the game, kept the lead because there was a couple of really good saves. I mean, I know a player that you like, Rasmus Hoyland. You think there's a player there, don't you? In Rasmus. Not seeing it at Man U though, are we?
No, I'll take the criticism for it. I don't mind. I don't mind people disagreeing. I've got no evidence other than just
Listen, I've got one that I like that a lot of people think is shit, and
Go
that's Darwin Núñez. I like him. I think he runs his ass off. I know he isn't the most clinical. Well, to say he ain't the most clinical is an understatement, but I do like his work ethic. I think and I think he's a good technical player. He just doesn't seem to have that killer instinct in front of goal, does he? He seems to.
I would take him at West Ham. I think he's
I
just
think he'd be
lacking
good.
confidence. I think he's lacking confidence, and
He's got to be approaching the end of his contract soon. He's got to be. See,
I don't think so.
Good free transfer. He must be. He's been there about 4 years, hasn't he?
Who did we sign? That was in January. We were pissing around pretending to bid for Calvin Phillips and
It's got to be
Rafinha.
4 years. It's got to be. No, it was before that. It's got to be 4
No,
years.
it wasn't. It was that January. We were making fake bids for Leeds United players, and then Núñez and Liverpool went, "No, we're going to go get him." And
Okay.
there was someone else as well. That's when we were doing fake bids.
Yeah.
That January.
That's every window. Yeah, every window we do fake bids.
Maybe it was 3 years still. I don't know.
Right, we'll whiz through him. Soufal, Gio, what are you thinking on Soufal?
6.
6? Yeah,
I thought he was
agree.
okay. He was all right.
I don't think he played. What about Kilman? Let's move on to Kilman.
6.
Yeah.
I'm not his biggest fan, but he didn't do
Neither
much
am I.
wrong today. He was okay today, but I'm still a bit suspicious.
Tadebo?
6.
6?
He looked all right. He looked maybe a little bit better.
I thought he was
but
okay.
I don't think he was,
I thought he was okay.
Yeah. I'll give him a 6.
What about your man crush, Cresswell?
7. I'm not even taking the piss. Did you see his runs down the left?
He was
The first half,
good today.
he was
What about
brilliant in the
what
first
about the
half.
little interchange before our goal? You know, the little back heel to Wan-Bissaka?
He was brilliant in the first half. I'll tell you what, when the news come out about players getting released,
Yeah.
Cresswell was the one I thought, I don't know. I feel like there's another season to go in him. I think I think he gets a good club. It might be another Premier League club, or it might be. I hope
he's our best defender. He's still our best defender now. He is.
I hope he goes to Ipswich. I hope he goes back to where he started, wins a championship with them or whatever. I hope he goes to Ipswich. But I don't know. I just think that could be one decision that might come back to bite us on the arse, Nick. But today I'm going to give him a 7. I thought he had a good game, some real good link up down that left side, and he loves it. He absolutely loves it.
Yeah. July 2022, Darwin Núñez joined, apparently. There you go. Right, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Gio. I thought he was phenomenal today. I mean, he is more or less every game, isn't he? But he was fucking good today. He was really good, I thought.
Minimum 8. How generous are we being? A 9?
Yeah, of course you can, yeah.
Yeah. What are you saying?
I would go 9 for him because we don't do decimals.
I don't do decimals either. Otherwise, you just rate them out of 20 then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, for me, he was a man of the match.
Yeah, I'll give him a 9. I thought he was.
He was fantastic. Right now, move on to James Ward-Prowse. What did you think of James Ward-Prowse today?
I didn't notice him.
No.
I think you could have took him out and put someone else in there, and I don't think anything would have changed. And I am getting sick of. Do you know sometimes when like the commentators from a neutral standpoint say stuff and you think, "Oh,
It's
fuck
really
off."
getting fucking boring now, isn't it?
Yeah, every time he takes a free kick, they're like, "Oh, James Ward-Prowse with these sensational deliveries." I'm like,
I know.
and like the next corner, he hit the first man. I was like, oh, "Here we go." Here's the reality: is Declan Rice is better at set pieces than James Ward-Prowse now.
Yep. I think Cresswell takes a better corner.
100%. So I'll give
Personally.
him. I'll give him a 6. I'm being kind. Tonight. I'm in a good mood. I'll say he was average, but the reality is he didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't do anything great either. He was just meh.
Yeah, I know. I didn't notice him. I mean, he was doing his usual for those periods. Where you notice him is when we're having those periods of pointless possession, knocking the ball. You notice him then. You know, he's in the middle of that. You know, he's the rebound board. He kind of makes sure that it keeps ticking the ball over in non-dangerous areas. What about the surprise addition of Guido? I didn't think he had a bad game today. I thought far better than what I was expecting. I was shit myself when I saw him on a team sheet.
Yeah, I'll say 7, but it's like a solid 7 for me. I often like to apply context to these player ratings. And the context is that guy's been sat on the touchline watching for the last couple of months, and he's not been given a sniff by Graham Potter whatsoever. Gets thrown in there today, and the first 5 minutes was a difficult watch. I thought he was really struggling. A couple of really sloppy passes. I thought, oh no, here we go. But he really grew into the game, and I think the match suited him, especially in the second half when, because we're so deep, his lack of pace was unable to be exposed. They didn't even test Rodriguez's speed today. So because of that, I don't think his weakness was there. And actually, I thought we saw the good sides of his game. I thought the reading of his game was good. I thought he was nice and comfortable in possession. I liked what I've seen, to be honest with you, Nick. Now, it doesn't change my opinion of him.
I thought he was our tidiest midfielder.
Yeah.
He was. You know, he really was. I mean, he did his job perfectly well. We know that there is an issue with pace, but like you said, I don't think we played in a way where that was going to be exposed today. So it worked. It worked well. Do you think he's more... Because I'm a big Alvarez fan. Do you think he's a more disciplined player to have in that kind of that CDM role? A better,
100%. If you think about, I don't know, the pitch in thirds vertically, he doesn't really move in the middle third. He doesn't get dragged out wide, whereas I think Alvarez can sometimes almost get a rush of blood to his head and go screaming down the pitch, chasing after the ball sometimes. And I think he did that as well, Alvarez, late on in the game. Manu got a free kick, which it shouldn't have been a free kick. It was just one of those pussy things. It's easier to give it than allow West Ham potentially to score. But Alvarez was there. What were you doing, mate? Like, get back. We're trying to like defend the lead, and he was stood there, like, and it's like, man, you're gonna bypass you easily. He was like a one-man press, and I thought this is the wrong time, wrong thing. Get back. But yeah, I agree. I do think Rodriguez is a lot more disciplined. Alvarez is the better player, but I think Rodriguez has that calmer side to him.
Yeah, he was good today. When he was playing under Loppe with that nutty system, you know, that was exposing everyone, it was probably most midfielders would have struggled in that whatever it was that he was trying to do. I still don't fucking know, Gio, what he was trying to do in half of those games. If you go back to the Chelsea game, do you remember that one where he put Alvarez against who's their striker?
Jackson.
Oh, fucking! I mean, that was unbelievable. How he ever in his pre-match planning thought that would be a good idea. This is great. This is what we'll do. We'll play a high line and we'll stick you on Jackson Alvarez. So it was. I do think a lot of our players maybe have been hung out to dry by certain managers. You know, maybe they're not as shit as they might appear. I don't know. Souček, what do you reckon? What was your opinion of Thomas Souček today?
I mean, he worked his nuts off, didn't he? He covered every blade of grass out there.
Couple of big blocks.
Yeah, a difficult role as well to sort of be the attacking midfielder, and then when we lose possession, get back and be the defensive midfielder. It's a tough gig to do, and you've really got to, we've just spoken about two players there and about how one of them perhaps is ill-disciplined and or not great at reading the game, perhaps. I don't think that's something you can ever say about Souček. He's never out of position. He's always where he should be.
Yeah.
You can have concerns over his ability of the ball on the ball. Of course you can. That's completely valid, and I agree. But actually, I don't think today that was an issue. So I would give Souček a 7, a strong 7. I don't think he was as good as one or two other players, though. So,
No.
but
He,
I thought he had a good game.
no, and for me next season, because look, my main issue with Souček has always been, I think, him being the first name on a team sheet, no matter what. When I feel like we've got better options, especially when you've got managers that apparently want to play a different way as well. I don't really understand it. I think he is a really good option to have, and he's a good player to have. I don't necessarily think that, for instance, if he was happy to be a squad player, there's no way I'd sell him. There's no way I'd sell him. But if he demands to be a first team player, I just don't. I don't like him as a player. Typically, I like certain elements of him. I like the fact that he's got a load of heart. I like the fact that he'll throw his head in front of everything. I like the fact that he runs his arse off. He can. He's a threat in the opposition's box, and he's good at defending our box as well. And he is a goal threat without a doubt. He's on 9 goals now. That's as many as Havertz apparently this season. He's scored a lot of goals, and for us that's important. We haven't been scoring goals, but yeah, I don't know. I just, for me, I just don't think he should be in the first team, mate.
Yeah, I think because he's such a goal threat and he will get you goals. So you play him in the role we did today, that sort of number 10 role. It's not pretty, and there's no creativity from him. Most people want your most creative player to be in that role, and he's certainly not that, but he does have that goal threat. But I think it's almost like a get out of jail card for managers to some extent. I think you've almost like failed.
It's lazy.
You've almost failed to come up with getting the best out of the other players. So you stick him in there, knowing that he's going to get your goal eventually, and you're just going to have to play it a bit ugly, and you're going to win ugly because he will get you goals. And it almost feels to be like it's an admission of failure, but it's like, well, I don't know how to play without Thomas Souček.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, can you come up with a system with Kudus, Bowen, Fulkrug, and Paqueta? I mean, it's hardly like crap players you've got there. You've got 4 top players. Can you come up with a system that allows us to score a couple of goals a game? We create chances. We've got goals from all 4 of them. Well, the answer ultimately is no, not really. So it's like, absolutely. Okay, well, let's go to plan B, which is get Thomas Souček in there and go a bit more direct, because it will work. Because if you play like that, he will get you goals. I get what you're saying. I think I'm happy with anything. If we sell Souček, I'm happy. If we keep him next season, I'm happy. Providing we bring in other central midfielders and attacking players as well, so that he's not plan A. But at the minute, we've got 2 goal scorers in our team, and that's Jared Bowen and Thomas Souček, and that's the issue.
The thing is with him, which confuses the fuck out of me, is he is a walking contradiction. So in the opposition box, he turns into prime. He's amazing. So he's touch, he's finish, everything is crisp. He's and you can't. It's not luck that he arrives on the end of these chances. He sniffs out space. He's very good. He's got a good eye for it. But when you consider what he can do in the box compared to what he can do with the ball in the middle of the park, I just find it fucking bizarre. Like, sometimes he does genuinely struggle to make a 5-yard pass. Sometimes he does. And I find that so weird, because he's pretty lethal in the box, isn't he? He is.
Yeah, he's a fantastic finisher. His positioning and timing he's never offside either. Very rarely is he offside, despite being on the shoulder of defenders the entire time. So in the box, fantastic. It's just outside the box, it can sometimes be an issue. But I do think if we have take today's formation and team, if you were to remove Ward-Prowse and Rodriguez and put in 2 better midfielders, I think that becomes a better team immediately, and Souček doesn't become much of an issue.
It doesn't become as much of a problem, yes. If you've got a more functional midfield. Well, if you look at the way that, I think Declan Rice he successfully carried Thomas Souček, didn't he? He did, and it allowed Thomas Souček to go and do what he did, because, well, I think what happened was when Declan Rice was sitting shielding, probably at that point, I think he was one of, if not the best CDM in world football. At
Yeah,
least one of them. He was amazing. So it freed Souček up to just go
yeah.
and make those marauding runs, didn't it? And what do you reckon happened there with Rice? Do you reckon he just went, I'm fed up with him taking all the glory. I want to go and
I
get
think, I
myself
think,
forward. I'm a better
I think,
player.
I think Rice just wanted to develop his game and add that
Yeah,
offensive side to him. And I think he knew that if he wanted to move to a Man City, a Man United, an Arsenal, he was going to have to prove that he could do that part of
yeah,
the game. And it probably goes hand in hand with the gentleman's agreement. We all know that there was an agreement between Rice and West Ham that we'd let him go eventually of that summer. I wouldn't be surprised if upon that agreement it was, well, I need to change my role because if I'm playing as a defensive midfielder, it's very restrictive. He couldn't go to Man City because Rodri was there. But as soon as he started adding that other elements to his game with those driving runs, suddenly he was an option for Man City because he was no
yeah,
longer
yeah,
competing with Rodri. He's going to be playing alongside Rodri. So yeah, I do think that would have been a discussion, and I think it would have been an agreement between everyone at the club really. So Moyes decided to get. I always think it's not a bad idea to get the best out of your best player, and I think that's what Moyes did. It just meant that Thomas Souček was hindered massively
yeah,
because of Declan Rice's new role.
yeah.
So
Well, he couldn't do what Declan Rice did, basically.
no,
Not to the same standard. But no, it was a yeah. I think that was a moment where I think Moyes had a problem on his hands there because I think, like you said about Souček, using Souček to score your goals is an admission that you can't do much else. I think Declan Rice really did make up for a multitude of sins in our team, didn't he? He really did cover up a lot of weaknesses that we might have had. I think having said that, we did know how good he was. West Ham fans knew
the,
exactly how good he was.
I think the significant difference between utilising Souček today and then was Souček back then wasn't like the plan B, if you like. He was plan A, but we also had goals elsewhere in the team. We had at one point Jesse Lingard, we had Finals, Antonio was scoring, Bowen was scoring. We had goals from people ahead of them, but whereas now we don't really. And Moyes didn't try and change the style back then. This was the way West Ham played. It was counter-attacking football. It was Thomas Souček bombing from midfield, and it was working. It was bloody good as well. But
Yeah,
since then we've tried to change style of play, and that's where you look at Souček and say,
but
well, he's possibly
but
the one that's got to come
I,
out.
I do think that that's when he got found out. Like I said in that show, I think when that kind of style of football had expired under David Moyes, which it does, it has a shelf life. It's got a lifespan. I think when Moyes had to embark on changing the way that we was playing, I don't think that was ever really going to fit him. But look, ultimately, Souček, you can't overlook what he's done for us. You can't, and still doing for us now, still scoring important goals. He's always there, and if anyone's going to score, it's going to be him. He's and you know what as well. When you see that we have got a lot of these players, I love all the players that play for us. Like the Paquetas and the Caduces and players like that. But he is also a player that I think does actually want to be here as well, which is quite
Yeah,
nice. That's
yeah,
quite
he
nice.
absolutely loves West Ham. And at the end of the
He
game
loves West
today,
Ham.
at the end of the game today, he was pushing Creswell,
I
Sufan
saw that.
Fabianski over to
I
the
saw
away
that.
fans and
Yeah,
saying, "Here, you guys go get the
yeah,
songs and get the plaudits and stuff like that." And that's leadership.
yeah. No, absolutely. I think he is possibly. Well, he is. Is he the backup? Is he the vice captain? I think he is, isn't he?
I'm not
Or he
100%
was.
sure. The last game, not this today, I'm going to watch and look to see who got the armband, but the last game previously, when Bowen went off, Kilman got the armband. Because I remember
Oh well, yeah. Well,
complaining about it.
what the fuck is that all about? I mean, have you heard him talk? I don't think so. Not him. He's not a leader. He doesn't talk on the pitch. You can see that. If there is a leader in that defence, it's Cresswell when he
Yeah.
plays. Right, on to Jared Bowen.
The thing is, Nick, I think he had a really quiet game, but he
I did.
scored, but he had a really quiet game in the first half. I don't think he was good at all. I think
No.
all our threat was coming down the left-hand side, and most of the good play was coming between Kudus, Wan-Bissaka, Craswell, and even Rodriguez with Souček, the threat in the middle. I don't even think Bowen was a threat in the middle. It was Thomas Souček.
Yeah.
Gets his goal, but he's just not really involved in the build-up of that. It's Kudus and Wan-Bissaka again, and it comes across to him pretty much on a plate. I'm almost inclined to say a 6, to be honest with you. Maybe it's a bit harsh. To tell me if you disagree.
I would have gone an average performance from him because it was a
Yeah,
good finish. It was,
yeah.
but it was on a plate for him, and I've got some concerns with Bowen in the Potter system. I really have. Now, look, this isn't. I'm not saying it's anything to do with his. You can't attack his work ethic. You know, Jared Bowen will give 100% of himself to West Ham every minute of every game. He will. But I do think he's a particular type of player, Gio, and I don't think. I think the way that Moyes utilised him, I think playing in that 4-2-3-1, his favoured position out on the right, cutting in on his left. I do think that is Jared Bowen.
100%.
I'm just concerned if, say, for instance, we go for this 3-4-3 with a box midfield. Where does he fit once Potter's got all of his pieces?
Well, you want to say one of the number 10 roles, but we're not, I'm surprised we've not tried it a bit more while we're in this period of no risk. But
Yeah,
Potter at Brighton was keen to use one winger as a wing back. And I'm hoping that it doesn't become Jared Bowen. I think that's what the plan for Somerville is. I think the plan for Somerville is to use him as a wing back.
yeah.
But
We
I
saw that
do,
against Villa, didn't we? And he was really
yeah,
effective. Yeah,
yeah. But the difference is Somerville, if you move him to wing back, you're not really moving the goal scorer backwards in the team, whereas with Bowen you are. So I think
yeah.
if he does get his box midfield, I think he'll be one of the number 10s or striker. I don't like it, but it might be that we target attacking midfielders and actually use Bowen as our striker because he won't be the thing is Lopetegui and Moyes also tried to make Bowen a striker. So
He's not a
clearly they
striker,
see.
Gio. He's
I
not a
don't think so
striker.
either. I hate him as striker.
He's not a striker.
So I, but we'll have to wait and see. But I've got a little bit of concern as well because the Bowen under Potter is effective, but it's not the Bowen machine under David Moyes.
Yeah. No, not at all. And like I said, that isn't a criticism of Jared Bowen. I mean, he's a
No.
fucking specialist. He really is. But I don't think that. Yeah, I don't see him as a 10. I don't see him as a forward. I don't think he's a conventional winger either. I don't even think he's a type of player that you could play on the left hand side to whip crosses in because I don't think he's got blistering pace. So I don't think he's that type of player. Yeah, I hope he finds a way because Bowen's really important to West Ham. I hope he finds a way of fitting him in. It's really important. But we shall see. We shall see. I agree on that score though. 6. It wasn't his best performance, but he did what he's been doing all season, popping up with a goal. Mohamed Kudus.
I'm going to say 7, Nick.
He was great today.
I thought that he was brilliant in the first
Yeah,
half. I think he was pulling out left quite a lot, linking up really well, causing threats, trying to get the crosses in, got the assist for the goal, and then he was involved in the second goal, albeit it took a deflection went to Wan-Bissaka, but he still skinned, and I mean skinned, Harry Maguire and left him sat there, created a yard for himself, got the shot away. It took a deflection. I don't mind that. I'm critical when he doesn't shoot in those positions because I think, and this is why I want you to shoot because you don't know where that ball ends up. Today, it ended up at Wan-Bissaka. Next game, it might end up with the goalkeeper. But the next game might lead to a corner, and we've obviously got the sensational James Ward-Prowse to whip one in to the front post. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 7. I thought he was really good. I really enjoyed today's performance, Nick. It just a bit
yeah,
quiet in the second half but that's because of the way we played. We were sitting back, and it was just. I think he
we
was
were.
isolated.
How did you feel about the way that we went, the way that we approached the second half in general?
A bit disappointing because, like, it's a concern of mine going into next season that Potter's quick to retreat,
Yeah,
and I don't like it. And we've seen on numerous games already that we're conceding late goals, and some of it can be put down to his substitutions, but a lot of it can be put down to the mentality of the team of just sitting back. Like the
yeah.
Southampton in particular, we just sat back, said, "Come on,
That's
then, come on," and
frustrated the life out of me.
we were just asking for them to score. And today
We
had
did kind of do that today. We did a little
yeah, we
bit.
did. But the difference between today and the previous games is we had a 2-goal cushion today.
Yeah,
The other games, it was Everton away, it was 1 goal. Liverpool away, we'd equalised and we didn't even get the chance to sit back before they scored again. But Southampton was 1 goal. But today was 2 goals. We had that buffer. We could have kept going and tried to get a third one. And had they scored, went, right, okay, now we're going to have to think about this and maybe start shutting up at the back. but I just felt like I almost feel like it's panic rather than
Yeah.
like subs done with confidence. When I watch other teams to bring on substitutions that are defensive, like Newcastle, I think, oh yeah, they're shutting. Good luck trying to break this lot down. You're not going to do it. But when we do it, I think, oh, it's just one more defender that's likely to make an error. I don't like it.
Feel like it's? Do you not feel like it's predetermined? Like before the game, he's thinking, if we get to this stage, this is what I'm doing.
I think it's as soon as we score.
Does he just shit himself?
I think he shits himself as soon as we score. I think he probably didn't know what to do at halftime. We were winning at halftime. Is that the first time it can't be the first? No, it can't be the first time we're winning under Potter at halftime. But we haven't seen it too often. He probably doesn't know what to do at halftime with West Ham yet. He's thinking, do I make subs now, or do I give it another 10 minutes? What to do? But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the attitude of when we go.
There's your answer, by the way. Suchek got the armband.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, good. I'm pleased. I'm good. I'm happy about that. But yeah, I think it's a mentality thing, and that's why after the Brighton game, he said they all said it's a mindset thing. It's a mindset thing. Well, the mindset I'm concerned about is Potter's, because he keeps going defensive. It's him that needs to change his mindset, not the player. Well, the players as well, but him. It's his subs.
He's got a lot to prove next year. He has. I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of changes. There's not really much point going into the subs, is there? Not really. I don't think any subs made an impact as such. So
no,
let's rate Potter.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I was so anti starting 11, but it's worked. However, for me to give him like a big mark based on the lineup, I've got to believe that it was through like design. I'm not even going to try and convince myself, but I wouldn't be able to, Nick, because we played Guido Rodriguez, right?
I know.
So, and we've established he's had a good game, but you can't convince me Potter thinks he's a good player, because if he did, we would have seen him more. Yep. We haven't done, so it feels like it was almost like a
not even off the bench.
Let's just
not even off the bench. Nothing at all.
Yeah, even when we're in the lead and we're bringing on players to see out the lead, he still doesn't bring on Rodriguez. So it almost felt like the lineup was a bit of a fuck it, let's just try this and see what happens kind of thing. But tactically, I thought we were good. I thought the players played well. I don't like his subs. It's between a 6 or a 7 for me, really. I think it's maybe a bit better than average. I'll give him a 7 because I'm being kind, but I wouldn't go higher than that.
I'm going to go for a 7 based on the fact that it worked. And I can't. I think the game plan worked against this Man United team, and I thought that the players were clearly motivated, and there was a lot of players in that team that we know are not going to be here in sort of next year as well. Yeah. So that they were all motivated, they were all prepared, they all carried out their task to the max, which they had to, because that was not a good fucking starting lineup. So they executed his plan, whatever his plan was, perfectly. So he got that through. If it would have gone south, if we'd have let that slip, and we hadn't got a win out of that game based on the starting lineup, I would have gone absolutely fucking mad. Yeah, he had to win with that lineup today. My opinion was, you better fucking win. You better win with that lineup.
Well, here's the thing. The biggest myth in football is never change a winning team, right? We've won today. I think I'd still make changes for the next game, because
absolutely.
I don't look at it. Oh, he's cracked it. Brilliant. He's cracked it. Well, he almost better hope he hasn't cracked it, because if he has, he's got a problem, because 2 of his defenders are off in the summer, and we're trying to sell Rodriguez as well. I know we're trying to sell Kudus, but that's a different thing. We're trying to cash in on value. Rodriguez, we're trying to get rid of. There's a completely different mindset. But Creswell and Sufal are literally leaving. So if he's finally cracked it, then, well, you've got a problem now, because 2 of those players you've just told you ain't getting a new deal. You're out of here. So yeah, the thing is, he probably couldn't have got a 9 or a 10 from me today, because Man U were that bad.
Yeah,
Man U were that crap.
They were awful. They were awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke to someone today after the game, an agent. Let's call him an agent who's known Sullivan for a long time, and he said that result. This is what he said for me. He said that result was good. He said, but it's going to be good for Potter and bad in equal measure. He said, because I do know how Sullivan's mind works. He said, if you were to lose the remaining 3 games of the season, he said he would be insanely backed in the summer. He said, but if you do finish strong, he said, there is every chance that Sullivan will reevaluate the situation and look at it and go, hang on a minute. So if we beat Nottingham Forest, if we beat so-and-so, this is what he said. He said, I'm just telling you the mindset of that man, how he changes from one game to the other. He said, if we was to win 3 games, there's a good chance it could almost bite Potter in the arse, because Sullivan could go, hang on a minute. Some of these players that you want to replace their positions, look at how we finished. We beat Man United away. We beat Nottingham Forest, who were fighting for Champions League. We've done this, we've done that. Yeah, so it's because he's a very unpredictable man, David Sullivan, isn't he? Isn't he? That's one way of putting it.
In some ways, but he's also predictable in others as well, which is what you're saying. I can almost see it. You can almost imagine him getting on the blower to Vladimir Sufal's agent tomorrow, going, actually, what was he wanted again? What's the... He's just pocketed Bruno Fernandes. Let's get him a new deal.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's from our point of view. As I was saying, sort of before we got into the player ratings, for me, nothing has changed. I'm very much, and that doesn't mean that I won't change my mind. You know, I've already said that the job, taking the horrible, if Potter was starting now, it's a hard job next season. So and that's without the weight of what has been a little bit of a failure since he's come in. Let's face it. It would be a hard job anyway. There's a lot of players that are going to be going. There's a full rebuild coming. It's going to be a tough job. If he pulls that off, and if we look decent and we look good next season, I'll change my mind 100%. But that won't make me or Gio or anyone wrong based on what we've seen. But I hope that he does. I hope that he's got something more in the tank that he's not shown before, to be quite honest, because when you look back, like you've illustrated, some of the stuff that he did when he was at Brighton, you know, I don't know, you know, like his home record was never that great, which indicates that he's more of a it's underdog tactics. So you go away from home, you play the counter punch, you know, you kind of absorb the pressure, you frustrate the opposition, and you win away from home. That's typically what it is, which is more his style. I'll be surprised if we see any more than that, but I think if he can kind of... What would be a success for Potter next year in the eyes of the board? What do you think a success would be in terms of league position?
In the eyes of the board, just finishing 17th.
That's it.
Yeah, do you think they've got... I don't think they've got ambition. But also, listen, they can't have it both ways, right? They can't sit there and say, we've got no money, and go, oh, and by the way, you've got to finish 8th. Well, no, that's...
Yeah.
If you're going to pretend we're skint and say there's no money and he's got to shift players on before they come in, then, listen, if you're going to, I don't know, shop among the bargain basement, then expect bargain basement football team to be produced as well. Yeah, honestly, I think if you offer David Sullivan 17 next season, guaranteed, he takes that. 100%.
Yeah, with the minimum amount of money spent, you know, 17th, job done. Yeah, no, he would.
100%.
How do you think it will impact him if season ticket sales are massively hindered? Though, let's be outrageous. Let's say, I don't know, 20,000 fans down. Let's say there's a big chunk. Do you think that will bother him, or do you think, in terms of, you know, would that be enough for him to sort of, I don't know, try and force a little bit of change? Because the board can say, look, the West Ham fans demand a certain style of fucking football. You've got to start trying to deliver it. We need certain types of players. You've got to entertain them.
I think they'll just try to bullshit. They'll say, oh, it's because of the cost of living, and it's because the trains to and from Stratford have been difficult. So people, but he won't. There's no account. The thing with David Sullivan is there's zero accountability ever. There's never any. There's not once been, okay, maybe we shouldn't have moved. Okay, maybe the move to London Stadium hasn't been great. We've not even heard that. They just double down on their wrongdoings and insist they're right. And it's got to the point, I say it's got to the point, I felt like this for a while. I think they believed what they say as well. Do you know when they say they're doing a good job? I think they believe they're doing a good job. I do, because I reckon he sits there going, I am the West Ham chairman that brought a European trophy to West Ham United. First trophy in 43 years, me. Well, no, it was by complete fucking fluke. He reappointed the guy you initially said, get out of here to. It was by accident, but I think he genuinely believes it's by design.
This is a man whose ego did not need inflating, Gio, and it has been inflated.
I think he's got rid of Steidem because he genuinely thinks he can do a better job than Tim Steidem. I think that's part of the reason he's got rid of him. He thought, these players you're bringing in, I can do better than that.
So is your understanding then? Because you said it earlier on. Was it Kretinsky that put Steidem in place in?
Jack Sullivan confirmed it on a podcast with Dodge Woodall.
Really?
Dodge is a big podcaster. Did a fantastic podcast with Mark Phillips this week. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. One thing I will say from that, I will chuck it in here. They start speaking about the academy, and obviously Mark Phillips is an academy coach and has been 20 odd years at West Ham now. And he got asked about, managers being involved with the academy players. I'm going to tell you two things. The worst one was Lopetegui. He said Lopetegui said, loan them all out. The academy players, Lopetegui didn't want any academy players. He said, loan them all out. He wasn't arsed. He said, but Potter is the best manager with academy players. He's hands-on, wants to know everything about the academy players and stuff like that. And Mark said he's not just saying that because he's the current boss. I believe him. Mark speaks his mind. He's definitely.
I don't think Mark. That's ex-ICF Mark, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not going to bullshit. I'll get that right. So explain to me what the fuck has happened to Scholes after pitting him against Salah. Most players struggle up against him, and also Kilman had a bit of a mare in that game as well inside him. I think you highlighted one of the errors from Kilman, didn't you, in that game, where was it Kilman that didn't hold the line, or was it Tadebo?
He ran off. Kilman ran off.
Left a massive gap, didn't he?
Yeah, he started chasing Curtis Jones down the middle of the pitch. The midfielder. Yeah. He ran after the midfielder.
But ever since then, we've not seen him. He's not. I mean, he's not even on the bench now, is he? Scholes?
No, he's fit and available.
Yeah, so that's a bit odd.
Last week we played Brighton, wasn't in the squad, and then the under-21s had a quarter-final against Man United the following day, and he wasn't in that squad either.
Yeah, no, it's strange.
It's very weird.
Do you think Potter's been mandated to bring some of the youth academy products through, or do you think they don't care? It's down to him, because part of the issue that I think West Ham managers maybe have always had, even Moyes to an extent, he had a 2-year deal. Then he had a 2-year deal, didn't he? Was that right? Then Lopetegui had a 2-year deal. Yeah, 2 and a 3. Then Lopetegui had a 2-year deal. Then Potter he's got 18 months by the looks of it, because that's when he gets reviewed. So to have the drive to want to bring the next generation through, they're not. You've got to be looking at the long term. And do you think that if you're bringing in a manager and you're kind of on a short-term contract, how can you really expect them to have a long-term vision? They're only going to care about it now, aren't they? They're going to care about what happens now.
Yeah, and I don't blame managers for doing this when they're constantly fighting to earn their next contract. I think, and this is where the whole contradiction things occur. When Lopetegui came in, he spoke about the academy, the youth players, and he played loads of them in pre-season. He was using all the academy players in pre-season, Lopetegui was. But then Mark Phillips has sat there saying he wanted to loan them all out. So he's saying one thing in public to appease the fans. And I can imagine in his PowerPoint presentation he did around Sullivan's gaff, he would have said, I'm going to play the academy players. Yeah, I love academy players. I'll bring them all through. And we went, all right, love that. But there's no criteria. There's no target. There's no way of measuring it. We don't measure it, to my knowledge. I think the only reason I think there might be a small pressure, and that's from Noble rather than anyone else. I think he might be like, can we try and get some players in the first team? But it's a difficult thing to do. It is hard. But this is where we've got quite a few good players now, and Carlton Cole, fair play to him, got his job right last summer, which is sending Marshall to Huddersfield Town, who won the Fans Player of the Year. Earthy went to Bristol City.
What's Carlton Cole's role in that? Then?
He's the loan manager.
Is he really? Oh, fair play
Yeah,
to him. He's got him bang on then. Absolutely bang on.
Yeah, so Marshall won Player of the Year by the fans. Earthy won Young Player of the Year at Bristol City. And Terry Mason won Fans Player of the Year at Hornchurch as well. And obviously Freddie Potts had a fantastic season at Portsmouth too. And I don't know if Carlton's involved with the first team loans or just the academy loans, but whoever was behind the Nefa Gerd one has obviously smashed that too, because he's had a fantastic season with Real Sociedad. So we've got our loans near enough bang on this season, but we're coming into the period now where it's big decision time now for Freddie Potts especially. I think Earthy might, if you were to loan him out one more year, wouldn't get offended. I'd understand why, but with Potts, I don't know. I feel like he's just proven it in the Championship now. It's decision time. Are you keeping him or selling him possibly? So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, possibly. So what we'll do, Gio, because we're going to move on to the phone-ins. I'm going to let you go because I know you've got to look after your little one. So thank you very much for coming on. What I do want to do is point you towards your own raffle that you're doing for for Jared Bowen for his shirt.
And I've got it here. I've got the goodies here. So we've got 3 prizes. This is prize number 1, a signed Jared Bowen shirt. We've got prize number 2, which is the programme from the Conference League final, signed by Jared Bowen. And we've got prize number 3, which it's one of 2. Basically, en route to me right now is a captain's armband signed by Jared Bowen. And if that arrives before the raffle finishes, that will be the 3rd prize. If not, it will be another programme also signed by Jared Bowen. So it'll be 2 Conference League final ones. So, that's our raffle at the minute, £5 per ticket. You buy 2 tickets, you get a 3rd ticket free.
So what I'm going to do now, while you're on the show, I'm going to put this in the live chat. There's a link here. Where are we? 1 minute. Find my own show. Shouldn't be that hard, should it? Okay. Right. Raffle link. So anyone who wants to get their hands on that stuff, here's a link for it.
Thank you, Nick. So it ends next Sunday. So you've got plenty of time to grab some tickets, and best of luck. There's 3 prizes up for grabs, and 3 people will win a signed Jared Bowen item. Click on that comment from Jay, that just above the comment from Mike Key, saying about has Creswell been at the club longer than Nobes now. Can you see that one?
Where's that one?
It's just above your link. There's 5 or 6 comments above your link from Jay Watson.
Right, okay.
Has Creswell been at the club? That's
Jay
interesting,
Watson, yes.
because obviously that's actually interesting, because he would be, wouldn't he? Because obviously Noble had a relegation, came up under Allardyce. So Noble did 2015 till 2023.
It's sad because they're not going to get testimonials anymore, are they? These players.
No, it's wank because we can't play games in our own stadium.
Yeah. It is sad.
Remember Creswell last year got told you can have a testimonial, but you got to pay for it yourself. It's £250,000.
Yeah. I know, it's fucking bullshit, isn't it? I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I do get it. Players earn an awful lot more now than what they used to. The testimonial was a chance for players that weren't earning the same sort of money as they are now to get one last payday. I get it, but fucking do it for charity. Just a recognition of a long term 100%.
Creswell would give. I'm pretty certain Creswell would give the money to a charity, but to turn around and say, "Oh yeah, you can have your testimonial, £250,000, please." What? Fucking hell, Jesus! Well, I don't know. I just think the club will be the first people to complain about lack of loyalty. And in fairness, they showed it to Ogbonna when he got injured and they gave him that new contract. They didn't have to do that, but I just think, we've usually got the Betway Cup. Just have the Betway Cup, but not as the Betway Cup. Just have it as the testimonial for Creswell. Because they keep talking about the London Stadium is our home, blah blah blah. Well, surely if it was our home, we could play a fucking testimonial in it, right? And I think to make the London Stadium more like home, you have to create memories, you have to create events, And a
100%.
testimonial is one of those. That
But
Martin Noble
they see no value in any of this, though, Gio, do they? They really don't. And I'm sure
but do you
we
know how
could
stupid they
book our
are?
own fucking stadium. Of course we could.
But do you know how stupid they are, though? Because, like, launch the new kit on the day of the
Mm,
testimonial, and that store will be flooded with West Ham fans spending loads of money on the new kit.
absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
they just think about it a little bit. There's loads of ways they can extract revenue from Aaron Creswell's testimonial. All the ticket sales will go to Aaron Creswell. Yes, of course it will. But there's plenty other ways off the back of it they can make money through revenue with the mega store easily. But maybe, just maybe once, you put the event on, and the idea isn't to make money, it's to celebrate people who have been at the club and given everything for the football club. Um, and I just think that's why when they harp on about the London Stadium is our home, blah, 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 I think, well, it's not. You can't even host a testimonial.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
So,
The
yeah,
thing is, they could, couldn't they? But they
100%.
yeah, they could, but they won't. You know, they've got no fucking interest in anything that would provide us fans with a little bit more of a connection to that place. You know, just something like you said, making memories. It's important.
Yeah.
Right, very quickly as well. I'm not throwing
Yeah.
Gio under the bus. We had a chat before we came on air. As you know, we're doing the 24-hour live stream next week, which is for a regime change. Gio has kindly offered to take a slot as well, so Gio will be doing that. We just got to he's got to check with his better half and find out what hour he's going to be doing. I've already nicked Ryan from Fortune's Hiding Down Under to do the entire night shift. No, he won't. I'll just gonna. So there will be more as the week wears on. There'll be more and more people sort of taking up slots on that as well, because I think most fans are just based on what we've just said. Now we just need something new. If that place is ever going to feel like home, try and I think we do need a regime change, because I think we're always going to, while that guy who's put us there is still at the club, I don't think we're ever going to truly embrace it, Gio. I don't. Maybe once he's gone, might have more of a chance, because we won't be able to blame a new owner, because that new owner didn't put us there,
Yeah, I get that. I think it's difficult. It's hard to say, really. I think I don't enjoy it. The reason I don't enjoy it isn't because of Sullivan. It's just because I don't enjoy the experience. So even if you change the owners, the experience going to remain the same.
But the experience could be improved if we had
Oh,
owners
100%. I think there's a
that
lot of
cared
easy
enough.
fixes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, there is. Right, Randy says, just before you go, Nick and Gio, just quickly, did you both hear about the American investment that could be Robert Cottage, whatever his name is? Have you got any thoughts on this, Gio?
Would you like to guess what my thoughts are?
Bullshit.
Yeah. When someone goes to potentially purchase any share in any football club, it's just completely covered up by NDAs left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
And there's anything the guy at our club knows about, it's how to do a good NDA. And there's no way this stuff gets leaked. There's just,
No.
I just don't believe it in the slightest. And when it came out, and apparently the club don't know about it yet, and I thought, well,
Do you feel like linking interest to such a controversial figure, which this guy really fucking is? I've done some reading up on him now. I don't want him involved. Is it a little bit of you don't like me, you don't like, but this is what you could have. You should be careful. You should be happy with what you've got. Could it be a little bit of that?
Possibly, but I haven't even bothered to Google the guy's name because I don't
It's
believe
not
it.
great.
In the
It's
slightest.
not great. Well, this
I
was the same
recall-
guy that was linked last year.
Yeah, I better say I recall him from being linked 12 months ago or whatever, however long it was. I remember it coming out, some things about him and why he had to sell these companies and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I just I take it with a pinch of salt, because I remember when Kretinsky was getting his shares, and first we heard about it was someone's buying into West Ham, but the name wasn't out there because it was all protected.
As it should
And then
be. Yeah.
I remember the person that broke it, I want to say his name was Matt Slater. I could be wrong, but he was from the Athletic, and I remember him because he broke it, and I messaged him, and he came and did a video with me, and I was buzzing because I got the guy that
Right.
broke the story and broke the name to come on YouTube, and he was like the chief financial correspondent at the Athletic or something. So it was a bit of a coup for me, so I was a bit nervous. But I remember sitting there, and he was telling me, and he was explaining how he knew it was Kaczynski,
Right.
and basically it was when things like this started happening. He said more and more lawyers get involved. So when more lawyers get involved, that's when the journalists go, "There's something happening here," because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of activity. So until that starts happening, until there's tremors, yeah, I'm not having. I think when independent people like the Athletic start reporting on him, when I say the Athletic, and this isn't a dig at him, it's just because he's West Ham biased. When it's not Rasheen reporting on it, but the Athletic report on it from a financial perspective rather than a West Ham perspective,
Yeah.
that's when I'll start to pay attention. But until then, if we get there, yeah, I'm not really buying it because gold shares have been up for sale for a while, and I appreciate they've been in probate, so they couldn't have been purchased. But it doesn't mean you can't begin negotiations and stuff like that. There's 101 ways that you could get NDAs written up. You could almost pretend you're buying Trip Smith's shares, for example, so you can start looking at the accounts and evaluating things so that when the gold shares do become available, you've
Yeah.
done all your due diligence. So yeah, I'm not.
No,
It's
I'm
pinch
I'm
to
I'm
stop.
I'm with you. I think it's nonsense. Also, as well, I think with what's happened with Kretinsky buying in with his 27% shareholding, if I was an investor that had a substantial amount of money and wanted to buy into a club, there is not a chance in fucking hell I would be settling for anything other than an even share. And I know that there's a rumor that both Kretinsky and Sullivan are willing to adjust their shares so that whoever comes in is an even share. I don't believe that for a minute. I don't think that Sullivan would ever relinquish being the main man, because he's a walk-in ego. But I just don't think he would. I think that's why they've struggled to find an investor, because you would have looked at this and gone, well, I'm not just going to give you my fucking money for you to go and play with. I want to have some say in it.
Yeah, because when you look at, I don't know how businessmen think. I ain't one, but if I'd imagine if I was a billionaire and I'm looking at West Ham, thinking, I tell you what, I ain't invested my millions in letting a porn baron run my football club. I'm like that guy's. That's not
No,
business. That's sex industry is a completely different business altogether compared to other. At least Kaczynski's made his money with legitimate business interests,
you
whereas
don't need to be a genius to sell sex, Gio. You don't.
yeah, so
You don't.
they were, they were literally labelled the Dildo Brothers by
I
the
know.
sporting president. That's how they're seen within football by some clubs. I think it's fair to assume that that's perhaps how they're seen from business people in the business world away from football. He's just a dildo brother. Would you want the dildo
Yeah.
brother spending your money? Probably
No.
not.
No, not at all.
But
But then again,
then
why
again,
did why did
Kretinsky got
why did
involved. So
Kretinsky buy in?
yeah,
It's strange, isn't it? It's strange. But anyway, Gio, gonna let you go, mate. Gonna let you get back to your evening.
thank you.
Thank you very much for jumping on, mate. It's been good tonight. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it as well. It's been a pleasure. It's always nice to do something different, and it's been a while. So thank you very much for inviting me on. But yeah, thank you very much, and
And for
I
those
will
for
see
those
you
of you for those of you
very
that are not aware, if there's a small West Ham YouTube channel called Hammers Chat. If you search it up on YouTube, you'll find Gio, tiny little West Ham channel over there. So for those of you that haven't seen
Come
him,
be friends.
come on. Gio, thanks very much, mate. I appreciate that.
No problem, Nick. Thank you very much. Take
All
care.
right,
Ta-ra.
top man. Cheers, mate. Right, and then there was one. I seem to remember Dad's Ad Job podcast said that he wanted to come on. I don't think I've spoken to you before. If you do, do you know my mobile number? If you do, WhatsApp me and I will send it through to you. I will take a few calls now as well. I saw Kerry saying she's still drunk, she's still high. Listen, you've just had the best day of your life, Kerry. I'll get it. It's brilliant. I am jealous as well. I do wish I was there because the fucking atmosphere was amazing. Oh, hang on. 1 second. Gary?
Hello, Nick.
Gary, I'm going to give you a call back. Let me connect me bit of kit up. It's not connected up to the thing yet. I'll call you back.
Okay, mate, no worries.
All right, cheers, mate.
Okay.
I ain't spoken to Gary for ages. Gary. Right, let's do this. I bet it don't work first time. Hang on. Give us a minute, people. Right. Will this work? Please work first time. It has. There you go.
Hi, Nick.
Hello, is that Gary?
How are you?
It's been a while, mate. It's been a while. I was getting worried about you. Glad you called him.
Oh, well, yeah, I know from you. I've been ringing to give you a call. That's things all right.
Yeah, no, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. How are you? It's nice to do a show after a win.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, wasn't it? Got great win today. Obviously, United have got things on their minds for the Europa, but you've still got to, take advantage of it all. But what was I going to say? I was just listening to you and Gio talking tonight. Been a great show, Nick. Really enjoyed it.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Thomas Souček, I know he divides opinion, and I'm listening very carefully. I've been thinking about this for ages. I would like to keep Souček, but I do agree. I don't think he should be starting every game. But obviously, when he does seem to score goals, they're always important ones. They're not like we were in a 3 or 4-0 win and he gets the third goal. Most of his goals are very important. They normally win. So if you did get rid of him, he's nearly in double figures.
Yeah.
But goals are at a premium, even for strikers. But for a midfield player, if you take that away from West Ham, you've got to replace them goals somehow. That's the thing. But of course, the problem we've got is if you play your three, Bowie and Kudus and his striker next season, whoever that may be, if say Souček plays in the 10 and you're going to restructure the midfield, you want to have a holding midfield player, you want a box to box. So then you haven't really got the creative midfield player. That's the dilemma, isn't it? I suppose.
I think what you need is, I think if you've got a midfield, like I'm not gonna demean what Souček is and what he does, because what he is, he's quite a basic footballer, but he's lethal in the box, and he's incredibly hardworking. I do think he would be very useful as a squad player, 100%. If you're protecting a narrow lead, even from a defensive point of view, you throw him on the pitch. He's great at defending set pieces. If you're chasing a lead and you want to go to a more direct method of play and you want to box crash, then you bring Souček on.
Yeah.
I do agree with what Gio said. What Gio said was it's almost an admission of failure if your method of scoring goals is via Souček. It's saying that I can't do it any other way. We've got to.
Yeah, like for example, at the moment, the present squad, if you had Alvarez in the 6, Kessa in the 8, and Kudus in the 10, then where would Souček fit? Yeah. Unless you played him as like a false 9 almost, and on some games, like a away game. But yeah, it is a problem. But also, when some West Ham fans get upset when his players come from other countries and, what's the term? Use us as a stepping stone. And yet, this guy loves the club.
Doesn't really bother me too much. No. I did say that, and do you know what? The more I've been thinking about that side of it, especially with the fact that we know that we've got Fabianski going, we've got Cresswell going, you've got Soufal going, possibly Antonio's going to be going as well. One thing that we do know about Souček is that he does love being at West Ham. I do think that does count for something.
And that means a lot to me.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people. Yeah, Cresswell particularly this season, I think he's been really good, Nick. Don't you? He's come in, he's a good squad player, he knows the club, he's been here 11 years. He can play on that left side of the 3. Yeah. And when he's come in, he hasn't let us down. He's been more than good, actually. I've been really impressed with Cresswell, I must admit. Obviously, I know we've got to bring the age down the squad, and I appreciate that. But he just wanted to pad the squad out with players.
He's a player that we apparently want to keep, but he's a player that wants to go. If you remember back when Dawson,
he
wanted to go to Wolves. So I don't think it's just an us getting rid of him thing. I think this is Cresswell's decision. I think he wants to move on. And he's still a very good fucking player. Do you know something? When you watch him play, he's still one of our most technical players.
He is. He's very good. He's very technically. I've always thought that about Cresswell. When he first came to the club, that 2016 season with Village, he was a brilliant left back, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got a great pass on him. He reads the game really well, and I've been really impressed with him this season, I must admit. But I don't think it's always a good idea to get rid of too many all-serving players in one go. I think you've got to keep something there, otherwise you need something in there like Souček. Even Antonio. If Antonio can come back you know, I wouldn't say first choice or even second choice next season, but if he was like a third choice striker, you could bring him on as an impact sub if he could still do it. You know, I don't know with his injury how bad it is.
Yeah, well,
but he's another player that's been there a long time.
How do you feel about what we were talking about earlier on? So, obviously, we all love Bowen, and we do. He's really incredibly important to us. But if you look at the way that Potter's always played, and you look at the way he clearly wants to play moving forwards, it is going to be playing a 3-4-3 or, you know, wing backs with a box midfield. Where does Bowen fit into that, really?
This is the problem, Nick. I mean, I was thinking this the other day. You know, to be honest with you, I know you're not a lover of Moyes and all that, but I mean, one thing I would say, when you look back at Bowen, Kudus and Paqueta even to a lesser extent, I think this counter-attacking system did suit him sort of players more, didn't it?
Yeah, but it did with certain players. But as we saw, I don't know if you saw the show that I did, and you're seeing it with Nuno now, Nuno Espirito Santo.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's definitive proof you can't play like that forever.
No,
you can't.
And this is the problem next week.
You can't spend your whole life sucker punching teams because they'll stop it in the end. They'll just sit deeper and they'll stop letting you in.
Well, next week would be a perfect example. Nottingham Forest. Now we know how they play. They're going to come there and they're starting to slide. You know, and obviously, I think one of your callers, one of your listeners said earlier, this system why it went today doesn't suit us playing at home, only away from home. So next week, Forest are going to come and they're going to sit.
Yeah.
And I think with Potter, I think even when he was at Brighton, if you look at the record, I think you highlighted it before, Brighton often struggles to score goals at home.
Oh, really?
And this worries me, you know? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. How are you feeling there about everything anyway? Are you quite positive for the rebuild? Because obviously the face of West Ham is going to change massively next year. Huge. We don't know what to expect. We're linked with all manner of players. I mean, I'm being told that we're being linked with a certain type of player, but the players that we're seeing that we're being linked with you know, on all the fan channels, they're all from fucking Denmark and places like that. Which I don't care about, as long as they're good players. But it strikes me.
That's right.
But it strikes me again that I think we've got people looking like we did under Stein and Lopetegui and under Moyes. You've got different people looking at different players. Is there a common vision? I don't know. I know people have come out and said that we've got a supercomputer now. They said that we've ripped off the Brighton model. You know, we've built our own analytics engine, which is going to be able to...
I saw that, yeah. I mean, the trouble is, Nick, we're talking about... You're talking a big turnover here. I mean, one thing they've got to do, if a lot of these players are going to go, you know, and not even mention about Paqueta and Kudus and, you know, Alvarez and people like that. But, you know, one thing they can't do, they've got to hit the ground running on that window. When that window opens, they've got to get the deals in straight away, haven't they? They can't be mucking about. Can't be waiting to second week, third week, nothing's happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I completely agree, mate. I
don't know, Nick. I'm not sure about Potter, I'll be honest with you. I just don't know. I mean, you know, you don't want to make yourself look stupid and say he's no good, and next season he gets his own players in and West Ham are in the top 6 or 7 again. You don't know, but I'm not sure about him.
I think... Are you talking? Is that Potter you're not sure about?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Look. I've laid my cards on the table. I would love nothing more than to be proven wrong.
Yes, right.
No. Do you know what? Like I've already said, it isn't proven wrong. We can't be proven wrong based on what we've seen. What we've seen has not been good enough. But what he can do is he can start again next season, and he can maybe prove. No, he can prove me wrong. He can. I'm talking bollocks because I've
Nick,
said,
ask you a question.
I've said he's not the right man, and going forward, he can. Of course, he can prove me wrong. So he can. Yeah.
I'll ask you a question. I was watching a show the other day, talking about Kudus. Now, bearing in mind, Kudus' best position was Ajax was out on the right, and that's where Bowen plays. So when you think in West Ham ball Kudus, they obviously knew that and knew they couldn't both play in the same position. Then there's been talk. Well, a lot of us have been discussing about playing Kudus in the 10. But I heard someone the other day saying, like, apparently with a number 10, you've got to have your head up. You can't, you know, and he does sort of put his head down a lot. How do you feel about that? Do you think Kudus could play in the 10?
Kudus, yeah. Look. I think Kudus is gone, mate. So he's gonna be going to Liverpool or Arsenal. That's what I know. We're trying to flog into Saudi. He doesn't want to go to Saudi, so he's.
Tell you what, I'm not happy about if he goes to Arsenal. I don't want to become in there and feed the club. You know, I'm not happy about that at all. I really ain't.
I don't know how much truth there is in it. I do know that there is a tax on Arsenal. So let's just say, for instance, Liverpool would have to pay 50 million. I think Arsenal would have to pay 60. So I think there is a tax if we sell him to Arsenal. But you know, They've,
But then we've got this release clause. It's got to be 85 million, isn't it? So
yeah,
I mean,
no one's paying 85 million based on what he's done this last year. They're not
So
going to.
would you be happy then if West Ham said, well, if it ain't 85, he's not going anywhere and keep him another season? How would you feel about that?
No, I look, at the end of the day, I think it's quite. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think he's incredibly important to West Ham, even though he's been not playing that well. When people have been having a go at him, he's one of the only people that can carry the fucking ball.
Carry it up, that's right.
He literally comes
absolutely
back,
right.
He picks the ball up and he drives it. He's one of the only people that can do it in the team. Him and Wan-Bissaka.
That's right.
Him and Wan-Bissaka are the only ones.
Wan-Bissaka, brilliant.
You know,
what a signing.
Bowen's a poacher from the right, but he can't do it down the middle. He can't. I know he scored today, but he is not a central striker.
No.
So I don't know. It's a really weird one because I do think that you don't want to keep players that don't want to be there. I get the feeling and the impression that Kudus, wants to move on. He's definitively a stepping stone. When players insert clauses into their contract so that they can leave if somebody pays a certain amount, then look, they're obviously, his dream wasn't to come to West Ham. It was to come to West Ham, make a name for himself in the top league, and then get a big move. That's always been his dream. I've got nothing against him about that. He's got no affiliation with West Ham. Most top players want to play at the top level.
Of course, and to be honest with you, this thing about stepping stone, when you think about it, unless you're Real Madrid, any club's a stepping stone. Look at Trent, he's leaving Liverpool to go to Real Madrid.
Oh, let's have it straight. We was a stepping stone for Declan Rice.
Yeah.
We were. And that's a youth product. The only players that are not going to be... The only players, maybe Mark Noble wouldn't have left. But so many players... Do you think, so many players, mate, honestly. I reckon even a lot of West Ham boys and West Ham players that support West Ham, if they played for West Ham and we were struggling like we are at the moment, we're 17th, and fucking Real Madrid or Liverpool come in for you, and you can be playing Champions League football and winning titles, heads will be turned. They'll want to go because, yes, they're West Ham fans, but they haven't got to where they are as a footballer based on their love for West Ham. They've got where they are as a footballer based on their ambition and their drive to be a footballer.
Do you think Declan might have stayed if we had made Champions League football?
No.
You still think he would have gone, do you?
Yeah. Well, no. If we'd have made Champions League football and made a fist of it,
that's what I'm saying.
Maybe done what Aston Villa are trying to do, been serious about it, maybe. But he probably can see, all those players at that club can see as well as we all can, that they're just not a serious.
I'll tell you what,
they're not a serious club.
I think you talked about Wan-Bissaka earlier. I think that's got to be the sign of the season, isn't it?
Well, to get 6 points and Wan-Bissaka off of Man United in one season is quite a fucking.
And not only that, he can play left back or right back. You've got two players there, really. When you think about it,
he's brilliant.
He's great on the left as well.
Do you know what I love about him?
You know the thing is, Nick. Sorry, mate. Sorry, I was going to say, Man United. I always heard when he would first come to West Ham, they were all saying, "Oh, he's no good going forward." And I thought, well, it's final pass is not always brilliant, but actually driving us forward like Kudus does, he carries the ball. He's brilliant, isn't he? I really didn't expect that of him.
I think he's brilliant, and do you know what I love about him as well? I think he's a West Ham player. I don't think he's a top quality player. I don't think he's. I don't think he's pristine. I don't. But I think he's brilliant. He's like I get like Antonio vibes from Wan-Bissaka. I think he's raw,
and he was also known.
He runs his arse off. He does the odd really random stupid fucking thing, and it makes me laugh. I don't think, even defensively, I don't think he's as defensively brilliant as what people give him credit for, right? Because he's great at tackling, 100%, amazing.
Oh, he's unbelievable. His timing's superb. He did it today, didn't he?
Jockeying players, I don't like the way he does that. He allows too much space. Yeah. He does, because he's got this, he wants to tackle someone. So what he's almost doing is he's begging someone to try and go past him. So that's what he does. He kind of shows them and stands off of them. But then what I've seen happen a few times is people shift right, they shift left, and then they get a ball in. But there are the positives with this player far outweigh any negatives, and that is why he's a West Ham player. He is, and what I mean is he's a player. I don't think he's too good for West Ham. He's literally he's not top level, but he's not. He's not like
he must have enjoyed it. He must have enjoyed that performance today, that result. Sorry? He must have enjoyed that going back.
Oh, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. he's a bit of a rough diamond, I think. Wan-Bissaka, he fits West Ham. He does. He's a top club.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he shouldn't be an England player or he shouldn't get an opportunity to go and play for England, but not that I necessarily want him to, because then whenever players
No,
get to England,
he's right. Yeah.
I start getting linked elsewhere. But
Yeah.
So anyway, the starting line. Obviously, you're happy. Were you happy when you saw the starting lineup?
Not totally, no, because I've been like everybody else. Ward-Prowse seems to be. It's funny, isn't it? Managers always have their favourites, and Ward-Prowse always seems to be in there. In the previous months since Potter's been here. Also in this system with this Bowen and Kudus like playing this little split on either side, not having a centre forward. I mean, I understand. I mean, I was Falkirk. I mean, he didn't get that on today, did he? But you'd have thought he should be. The other week, Falkirk played about 60, 70 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah.
And in this today, he's not bought much. I know it's away from home. You can play a different. I'll tell you one thing, Nick. One more thing before I go. I'm going to say, when he made the substitutions today, we 2-0. Bearing in mind, 4 games in a row we've given away late goals, and that's cost us 8 points in 4 games, right?
Yeah.
Everton, Liverpool, Southampton, and who's the other one? Is it Bournemouth? Anyway, whoever it was. Yeah. And when he took Bowen, Kudus and Bowen off together, I thought, what are you doing? Because you had no counter-attacking threat at all, and it's sort of like inviting them on. And I thought, if United pull one back here with 10 minutes to go, I could see us caving in again, because it must be in their minds, mustn't it? When you do that 4 games in a row, 85th, 86th minute, and you concede, I thought if they get one, they'll get another one.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. No, I thought that what he was doing was suicide today, and it's exactly what he's done in the previous games against like you've said, against Brighton, against Southampton. I'll tell you what, if it got backfired him today, he'd have got a lot of criticism tonight. We would be having a different conversation, mate. He would have got ripped. I'm going to be open and honest. He would have been ripped to fucking pieces for the lineup, for the submissive tactics, which failed again. If they failed, he would have got ripped to pieces. So this is what I'm saying to you. For me, what I need to see is I don't flip-flop from result to result. I don't do it, never have. I will change my mind, but I need I need proof. And one game isn't, even the 40 clock's right twice a day. I need a sustained period of proof. And also, historically, for in his time, right, hang on, Adam from Dad's Ad Job is about to join. 1 second. I've got to find the split screen again now. Fuck's sake. I'm good at this. There we go. 1 minute. Adam.
Hello, Nick. How you doing,
Hello, mate? Yeah, not bad. We'll get to you in a second, mate. We've still got Gary on the phone. Right, go on, Gary. What was you saying?
No, that's fine, Nick. Listen, I'll let Adam come on. I've had me say. It's great to talk to you again.
Lovely stuff. And you, mate. And you. Make sure you phone in next week. Well,
yeah, take care, mate.
Definitely on that Saturday, mate. We've got 24 hours to fill. So,
will do.
All right.
All right, Nick. Take care, mate.
In a bit. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.
Adam, nice to talk to you, mate.
How you doing?
I'm all right. You?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. It's always good to finally catch up and talk in person, despite all the messages of mutual people that we know. So
indeed. I saw you said you're related to the Moncurs. Did I just say?
I am. Yeah, I am. So it's through my great nan. So my great nan was one of 8 sisters in the East End, and they married. Like I say, they married a family. And it just filtered down into the Moncurs. So basically, John Moncur, West Ham legend, is my 4th cousin. So how it works that way.
He was a nutcase on the pitch.
He's a nutcase off it, mate, as well. So don't worry about that. But
I've heard some of the stories. Harry arrived late at training once with Harry Redknapp, and they used to lock the changing rooms where they got changed. So he came out naked.
Yeah,
apparently.
That's it. Yeah, because the kit man, they took all the kit. So he was like, well, if you're late, you're going to go out. And he went, he just went out with white paint. And he painted himself up when he went to cover himself up. But yeah, he was good friends with Gazza as well, especially during the Tottenham youth days. There's plenty of stories with Gazza when they were younger. But yeah, no, he's definitely a character. But also his 2 boys, George and Freddie, were playing football at lower league level as well. And it's crazy. But I was a pot boy at my uncle's club in Dagenham, and his uncle Cornelius, his name was, used to go up the club and sing Bubbles and let them all come down to the den in like a mega mix sort of thing, because he was a Millwall fan. But that always put a smile on my face. But I named my daughter after him because he was just such a character. So, yeah.
Brilliant. What was Harry? Where are you sitting on West Ham at the moment, mate? What's your what would you like to say on proceedings?
It's very flat, isn't it, at the minute? I think they, excuse my French, but I think they fucked it up in the summer from the off.
100%.
They had the chance to get Amorim. I mean, I know you was a big fan and very excited on the videos of getting Amorim in, but I think when you are Alan Thomas as well, shout out to Alan.
It was only. Don't get me wrong. I weren't like, we need Amorim. It was when it was looking like he was going to. Because do you remember the news broke that he was getting on a fucking plane, and I was like, shit, we're getting Amorim. So I got very excited because he's done very well at Sporting Lisbon. But do you know what? I'm going to say this on record now. Even with the benefit of hindsight, I would still have Amorim now. If you asked me to switch them both, I'd switch him with Potter. I would. I think he'd have been more suited 100%. To us.
Yeah,
he would have
100%. I think what it is probably. We balked at the fact that his release clause was 15 million at the time, and we'd have to buy some of the Sporting Lisbon players, which we couldn't afford. And I think that's probably why we were kind of priced out of that situation. But yeah, again, even it could have been, even if Amorim wasn't the option. I mean, there were plenty of other options there we could have had other than Lopetegui. It was just a negative appointment from the off. I mean, didn't AC Milan put a protest out saying no Lopetegui?
No, particularly, I know. Well, we did as well. You know, the West Ham fans did. There was a protest. I mean, it was a stupid fucking appointment, and I'm fed up with. I don't understand the mentality, right, of going out and appointing failed managers. I really don't, especially when we're a club like we are that does invest heavily in playing staff. We spend a lot of money on players. We have done for years. So the only thing that makes sense to me is that Sullivan wants to have power. And if you bring in a manager that's got a big name, like Amorim, it will say, well, okay, I'll come in, but I want you to do this, this, and this. Sullivan doesn't like that. Maybe he prefers damaged goods that are grateful to him for giving him an opportunity, that he can, almost in a sense, he can do what he wants to a degree. Behind the scenes I don't, because there can't, there's no other sense to it. It's got nothing to do with the fact that people don't want to work for Sullivan. At the end of the day, we're a big club. We're in London. We pay lots of money for players. We could easily go out and get a top manager. Silva wanted to come to us as well, but he wouldn't pay that 17 million release clause. It's maddening. And we know this is a thing. So if it does go bandy with Potter, we'll talk about Potter in a second. If it does go next season like it's gone this season, he'll go. Fuck me, you just know. I'm just so worried about what he does next, because you just I've got no faith. I've got no faith in him whatsoever anymore.
Yeah, I think the thing with Sullivan, he goes for the glamorous manager, doesn't he? He goes for the glamorous manager that's available. I mean, there was a point when he was going to get Rafa Benitez at one point, and then Real Madrid called him on the 23rd hour saying there's a job available here. So we almost had Rafa Benitez, and then
he goes on like Wikipedia and he goes, oh look, he's managed Real Madrid, Liverpool, he's managed him. Here, dude, we get him in.
We'll do that, mate. Let's not beat around the bush. But even like Pellegrini, like we got David Moyes in because that was a David Gold recommendation, and I know that David Gold was a fan of Sullivan's. I used to be a pot boy at West Ham, like in the Castle Suite in the old ground, and there was a few people in that there, and they were big fans of Sam Allardyce and David Moyes. Yeah, that was all. That was a given. That weren't even a rumor. That was common knowledge. And then when David Moyes come in the fold, I thought, that makes sense because they've always had an eye on him. But then they fobbed him off from the first tenure. They got Pellegrini in again, gone for the glamorous, sexy football name. He's been managing in China for 2 years, and he's brought all these players in. Do
you know he ain't doing bad in Betis, mate. He ain't doing bad at Betis. They're in the Conference League final.
They are, but at a cost though. I mean, a lot of their players are coming to the twilight years of their. I think they've got Isco. They've got Fornells now that they paid out for. They've got Anthony on loan. they got Adrian, I think, is even there as a second choice goalkeeper. But it's I think they're buying a lot of old guard players, and that's going to run out very quickly. They could win that cup, and then that'll be it. They'll free fall very quickly. But he's already under pressure as well, because I think in the league, I don't think they've been that great either, Real Betis.
No, but they've done all right since he's been in. I mean, for me, I just hope that Betis beat Chelsea. I'd love to see Pablo lifting that trophy. It'd be amazing.
Even if Chelsea win it and they've collected the entire trophies that have been on offer in terms of continentally and internationally for the World Cup, they'll never win it unbeaten, will they? And that's something we can always have over them.
Yeah, that's it. How do you know? After we beat Man United today, I was obviously very happy that we jumped above Man United and Spurs. But I was hit with this fear and this realisation all of a sudden after I kind of thought about how shit Man United were. I was thinking, fuck, Spurs are going to beat them, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. They've beaten them every game they played.
That's not good. I live in Enfield. That's not a good thing, mate.
I do feel for you. No, that's the thing. I think they've beaten them every time they've played them this year. Or even the past 2 seasons. I don't think they've lost a game to Man United, but that duck's got to come in. That duck's got to break soon, isn't it? And hopefully it's at the Europa League final. But I think Man United have probably won it most recently under Mourinho, so they've probably still got some players there that could lend experience. I think Spurs have got a pretty tidy young squad. I think they've got some talented young players there, like Bergvall and Archie Gray. I think they've got some good talent there. But yeah, you don't want them to win the latest.
No, it's not, mate. It'd be a nightmare because, honest, I know it depends on, I suppose, your friend circle and where you live and stuff like that. How you get affected by
fuck them.
by Spurs fans. No, honestly, but it ain't good for me. It's not. No. If they do that, it's gonna diminish. They already take the piss out of the trophy that we won. I don't care. I love it. I love, you know what I mean. But it'll make it worse. It'll make it worse if they do that. And I don't know. I just enjoy taking the piss out of them as well. So it'll be like a little part of me will die if they win that trophy. Won't be good.
I mean, I host my podcast with 2 Arsenal fans, and they're basically they're So I get the Declan Rice talk for the past 2 years. But yeah, it's just they're prepping themselves up now for if Tottenham win it. Have they had a better season than Arsenal this year? Because they both achieved Champions League football and Spurs have won a cup. So now they're kind of prepping up their defence mechanism in case Spurs do win it. In terms of because they don't want that.
No, not at all. It was lovely. You must have had fun with them after that. After the PSG game, that must have been good. Yeah, the Champions League game.
Yeah. I mean, I thought they were quite.
Or are you a good friend? Are you quite understanding? You didn't rib them too much.
I've got selective hearing, Nick, so I can zone out if I want. But when it was the Real Madrid first leg and Declan Rice scored them 2 free kicks, like how can you just have to swallow it, don't you? Like it's there in front of your face, you just got to take it. But they always had that we won the quarterfinals of the Champions League tie trophy in their cabinet, so they're happy.
Yeah,
because they won it after that game, didn't they? They won Champions League after that game.
To be fair to them, all piss taking aside, football's all about memories, isn't it? I know it's never going to be enough for Arsenal because they feel like that would have been enough for us. It would have been just having those 2 nights against Real Madrid. That would feel like a bit of a cup win, wouldn't it? Because you'd have that memory embedded, especially with, those fucking free kicks from Rice. Where's that come from?
I think he's always had that in his locker, isn't he? Because I remember Mark Noble, he was on Ben Foster's podcast. I know Alan very well. It weren't you, Alan. It's just like that.
You used to live next door, did you?
Yeah. Well, we lived in the flats in Rush Green, and I was on the ground floor, and he was like up one and then to the right. So he'd always peep over on the. But he worked with my dad in the windows as well. So, So I can't remember what I was saying now. I forgot now.
Sorry, he's thrown you out. Alan's thrown you out.
Yeah, yes, he's thrown me.
But I'll tell you what we'll do. In terms of Potter for next season, how are you? What are your thoughts on the transfer window? On the players that we know that are going to be going, the rebuild. So, what is your confidence in that? And what are your thoughts on Potter? Do you actually believe that that he could turn it around next year?
I believe he can.
Yep.
I believe he can because I think he's got a proven track record at the lower clubs. Not so much Chelsea. I think Chelsea he got pretty much a golden ticket, and they were buying everyone and anyone.
We're not a lower club though. That's the thing. That's what bothers me.
No, we're not. But considering where our Premier League status is at the moment, we would be of that lower end that needs a rebuild.
Yeah.
So, and I think he would. I think he would come in and do a pretty good job in fine tuning that and getting the right players in and promoting youth academy. Because he's got a track history with it. He's got a proven track history. I know he's done it in Sweden, but given the context of the team that he took charge was like a third division Swedish side and got them up to the winning the title, beating Arsenal in Europa League, and he done all that with youth players and a good scouting network with a minimal budget, and that earned him a job at Swansea. I thought the Swansea job, he didn't get long enough to really fulfil what he could do, because I think Brighton just snapped him up straight away because they saw the talent early, didn't let him settle at Swansea, and they got him in straight away. And obviously, Carl McCauley has gone with him from Sweden to Swansea to Brighton to Chelsea, now to us. So it is interesting that the fact that despite all these years of David Sullivan slagging off Potter for not being a good manager, he's just basically hired him and the recruitment staff with the cheat code attached to it.
Is the cheat code attached to it though? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure I buy that, because the entire cheat code left Brighton to go to Chelsea. Brighton just carried on. In fact, Brighton got better.
Yeah, no, Brighton did get better. And again, like De Zerbi was always a manager. I think it was Sosalo, because he managed Scamacca at a very young point. So so I was familiar with De Zerbi straight away anyway. And then when he came into Brighton, I thought, there's a good fit. There's a good fit. But even when Potter was at Swansea, their contingency plan post Potter, and this is the bit we need to highlight from. I mean, Potter's not going to be here for a long time. He's going to be here for a fun time. So, but post Potter will be better.
A fun time. I hope so.
Yeah. So when you look at Swansea, they were mid-table with Potter. Potter left to go to Brighton. They got Steve Cooper in. So they kind of knew what manager to get based on what the structure of the squad was. So they got Steve Cooper in, and Steve Cooper actually done phenomenally well with Swansea. Got them into the playoffs, and I think he just narrowly missed out with the players that he had. And then he obviously went to Nottingham Forest after that. And then obviously with Brighton, he went to Brighton, got them up to a level for them to build, and then he got poached by Chelsea. So then Brighton evolved from what he done. And then Chelsea have evolved effectively, really, when you think of he's gone, and then they got who did they get in after Potter?
You don't credit Potter though, do you? For
Chelsea's
evolution.
I credit him. You're trying to catch me out here. I credit him to an extent because it's like the foundations were set. He's putting the mortar together, and someone's laying the bricks, and that's effectively how I see it. Me being an architect, that's the only way I can kind of describe it. So he's putting the mix together for someone else to build with, you know. So I think when he leaves West Ham, because he is going to leave West Ham, because they don't just leak an 18-month break clause in his contract after you've signed him for 6 months with no compensation attached to it. Either he goes on his own front, or West Ham decides to part ways, and there's no money attached to it. It's that you don't leak that for a reason, and that's why the whole conspiracy theory about next season is quite interesting.
I personally think that if he doesn't succeed next year, that's going to be his last job in top flight football. I really do.
Possibly.
I think the pressure on him is fucking immense. I think we've seen so much. So if you watch from what we've seen of him in his time here so far, you know, the geezer's got a shitty bum. He really has. You know, Gio said it earlier on. His biggest concern about him is how when playing in these games that mean fuck all, he just shits himself when we get like a goal lead. We do this. He goes defensive. His subs are bizarre. I don't see it. I'm not saying there's no good aspects to his management. I'm not saying that he's not talented, that he's not a good coach, that he's not this, that he's not that. He clearly struggles to play and to manage big egos. I know he had big players at Brighton that went on to do big things, but they weren't big players when they was at Brighton. That was their pre-move. That was their kind of, they hadn't made it yet. You know, once they got too big for their boots, he had no fucking problem at all. Yet get him out, sell him, this, that, the other. He doesn't overly like working, it seems, with big players. He likes working with smaller players. Now, that for me is all well and good, but that's a development manager. That's not a top flight. That is not, when I say a top flight, I mean like a top half manager that's going to sustain. I mean, if you look at his Brighton record as well, his Brighton record isn't great. You know, he had, even in his third season, he had 2 3-month periods where, well, 1 3-month period where they didn't score a goal at home. He had another 3-month period where they didn't win at home. So in that was in his third season with the team that had been built for him, not the team that he built, because he never bought a player at Brighton. So I don't know, and I would love to be proven wrong on this, because, like I said to you, if I'm not proven wrong on this merry-go-round will never stop. So if Potter doesn't turn into a good manager, he'll get sacked. But then I'm pretty certain we'll just go and get another wanker in, and this merry-go-round of misery will never, ever stop. So, in a sense, we need Potter to prove us wrong, I think, at the minute. We need him to, because this rebuild that's coming up this season, we can't get any worse. We'll get relegated. So, it needs to be so right and so bang on and so precise with recruitment, with everything that they're doing. It's massive what we're doing this summer. And I have, even after today, I have seen fuck all to suggest that he is the right man to be entrusting with the rebuild of West Ham.
I don't trust him with the current squad we got. If I'm completely honest, like looking at what he's had to deal with. I mean, his only signing was Evan Ferguson on loan, and again, he wasn't fully fit.
Look how that went.
And the thing is, he's a top player. He's come from an injury where he's had almost half a year out, and it's quite a career-threatening injury, and he's actually come back to play some good minutes, I think, and he's actually scored for Ireland at international level this season.
But he's been shit for us. We bought him for us. Yeah. When he came in January, we had 18 games, so many points to play for, so many. You know, everyone wrote it off straight away. Oh, it's a pre-season. It don't matter. I don't know what people were talking about. We had a base of 23 points with 18 games to play. That's a lot of points. And Fulkrug got injured in his more or less his first game. Antonio had the car crash. We needed a fucking striker.
Somerville got injured as well.
Somerville got injured. You just got to think to yourself, why did nothing happen in that window? And yeah, maybe it wasn't all him, but it's a bit suspicious that we've ended up burning the entire window. And the one player we ended up signing was the one that, for instance, Gonzo was saying that we'd agreed to sign weeks before we even got him. It was going to happen at the end of the window. Yeah. We was going to get this player. It was going to happen late. It was nailed on, and that was arranged by Potter. So that, for me, that's the only example I've got of his recruitment so far as well, which ain't great.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, I can't knock it. I think he's gone with a tried and tested player that he's. They are green. It's the reflectors on my glasses.
Yeah,
that I'm going into Incredible Hulk every time I talk about West Ham and just get really angry. No, but again, I think also they're not. You know, they're probably saving a bit of dough because they realise that the squad that they've got is enough to stay up as well. I know we've done it with the skin of our teeth, and there being 3 teams worse than us. But again, like it's like Arsenal. Arsenal didn't go out and sign a striker this winter. But if they did, they probably would have had a better chance of winning the Premier League, Carabao Cup.
From their point of view, how they didn't do that, I've got no clue. I mean, that's probably the one piece that they're missing, and they keep neglecting to do it. It's either Arteta or their director of. It's a bit strange that the director of football left. Apparently, he left in a huff. He weren't sacked. Yeah. He left. So I think
Eddie
it was more.
Nottingham Forest, didn't he? So, he went to Marinakis, like the group, rather than Nottingham Forest. So he's dealing with Olympiacos, Nottingham Forest, I think, a Portuguese club, Rio Ave or something like that. So so he's actually delegating a hell of a lot. A hell of a lot of clubs, but I think Nottingham Forest will be the main beneficiary because they're in the top flight league that has the bigger commercial revenue as such. I mean, Olympiacos, they've won the Conference League last season. But they're in Europa League now and they ain't really done anything. Nottingham Forest just end up loaning players. So
did you see that geezer rip into Nuno earlier on?
Yeah, apparently they said because Taewoo was injured and he was having a go at Nuno as to why they took him off.
Bad though, isn't it? You don't expect that, though, do you? So that's what I mean. So I think all these owners, he's clear. For me personally, I'm not too sure I buy that because I've heard a different angle. It looked like a guy that was on the edge because I think he'd almost probably convinced himself we've got Champions League football, because he's already stepped. Gio said earlier on he's already stepped down from having any control of Newcastle at the minute. Of course he hasn't. He's just officially on paper he's stepped down. But yeah, they'll get European football, won't they? One way or another because they can't drop out of that. They're too deep into it.
They've got Europa League minimum. So even that, considering where they were League One football team 4 or 5 years ago. But that's a hell of an improvement to what they've had.
It's massive. But I do think they'll fall off a cliff next year. I do.
Yeah, it all depends on who they buy as well, isn't it? Because if they get Europe and then you're getting players in that are there for the wrong reasons because they want to be in the spotlight of being in European football. But it will be interesting. But I think you'll see a lot of transition between Olympiacos and Nottingham Forest in the summer, just purely because of balancing the books and PSR and. Obviously, Olympiacos have a wider scouting network than what Nottingham Forest do, so they'll obviously have a lot of transition in that. So Olympiacos might have already bought so many youngsters, and then Nottingham Forest end up buying them anyway, just transitioning for a very nominal fee. It will be interesting to see how that. But with West Ham, I think in terms of the players that we've been linked with, it's not household names other than Ramsdale. I think a lot of the players that we've been linked with have been like a young emerging talent, like the ilk of what you'd expect someone like Brighton or Brentford to be buying. Even to the extent Bournemouth have been buying some really good players over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's strange as well that we're being linked with these players because this is what I'm struggling with because it happened under Tim when Tim was here. We was linked with a whole host of the same type of thing, unknown names from random places. We never signed any of them. I think we're getting the same sort of thing now. I personally do feel that that Sullivan will do his usual. I think that Potter and McCauley will get a couple. I think they will, but I reckon you're going to see some household names coming. I think we just will. And this is a problem that I think Potter is going to have at West Ham. I just think he is. I think this is going to be his battle. I don't think he is playing. I know we're 17th. He's part of the reason we're 7th. Well, we're 15th now. Actually, we're not 17th. But he's part of the reason that we are where we are. He had an opportunity to move us up. We're not a small club. We're really not. And I don't think that we've got. I don't think that we've got a fan base that will kind of. For instance, like I've said before, we didn't move into the London Stadium so that we could, at this point, 10 years later, turn into what Brighton were 5 years prior.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable. That's not in any way, So if what we've got to do is go backwards to try and go forwards a little bit with a guy that you've already said yourself, he's not going to be here long. So what sort of fucking rebuild can he actually do in 1 year or 18 months? What can he actually do in that period? So I do find it a bit strange. I don't think he's going to be looking for the future. I think if he is only here for 18 months, maybe if he had a 5-year deal or a 6-year deal or something like that, and he was cemented at the club, he would have a bit more of a long-term vision. You'd be thinking, get the youth players in, bring these players through, nurture them, bring them in.
I agree.
Do that type of thing. But when you've got a guy who's just basically trying to avoid being sacked because he's trying to protect his reputation, he's going to want players that are going to get the job done for him, I think. And that's why I think we've always ended up in this situation. That's probably why with David Moyes, even to a degree, because he had a 2-year deal, then a 3-year deal. Lopetegui had a 2-year deal. This geezer's got an 18-month deal. These managers ain't got any fucking interest in... All they're looking at is the end of the year because they haven't got secure jobs. So, and that's why we've ended up with the oldest and smallest squad that we had when David Moyes left us. And the clusterfuck that was the summer as well, that just went. And unless that changes, I don't see it changing. And this isn't Potter's fault. That's not Potter's fault at all. This is what he's walked into. But unless that changes, I don't see anything changing at West Ham now. I think we've kind of reached a plateau a little bit at the moment. All the other Premier League teams are so strong now. They're getting stronger every year. Every year, Brentford, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Palace.
Have they capped their spending now, though? Do you think? Whereas where we haven't, like we say, I know we're playing the pauper. Sullivan likes to play the pauper. It's just little arms with deep pockets sort of attitude. But I think with the other clubs, it's that Bournemouth are spending £140 million in transfers, and it's like, can they sustain that?
But I think based on how Gio explained PSR earlier on, we are at the limit of how much we can spend based on what the club generates. So
it's commercial revenue, isn't it?
Commercial revenue. Yeah. We're at the limit. So these other clubs have probably got owners that will pump money in, so they can pump up to 90 million of their own money into the club.
Yeah, I think this is where Saudi Arabian football is going to. We haven't got
owners that will do that, mate. But we haven't got owners that will do that.
No, I think this is where Saudi Arabian football is going to get really hot this summer, because they're talking about smashing the actual transfer records for players this year, and they're just going to buy it. So we're talking about Kudus for 120 million going to Saudi Arabia. That could happen. That could happen very.
I don't think he'll go.
People saying that about Duran. People think, why would he go to Saudi Arabia? He's 22 years of age. He went there for almost 80 million quid.
But as many players don't go as do. Do you know what I mean? So there's still a lot of players that Salah could have gone and double the money out there.
I think they've even widened their foreign players list as well on their squad registration, so they can actually get more foreigners in their squads.
Yeah,
which is again, I think keep a very close eye on the Saudi Arabian market in the summer, because it's
I mean, don't get me wrong. I could understand it, but for me, if I was a player in the peak of my powers, or not even in the peak, if I was 22, 23, I would be looking at Saudi like I'd look at the MLS. I'd be thinking, maybe when I'm 33, 34, I'll go out there for one last payday. Oh, there's no way you'd do it. You'd do it now, I don't think. Unless you've got players that are literally only in it for the money, and they're the ones that will go for something like that.
And you don't want those sort of players playing for your football club. So it's kind of filtering it out. I mean, I remember when the Chinese Super League was up and running, and Oscar went from Chelsea to Gangzhou Evergrande, or whatever they were called. And I think he only just left last year. He signed like a 10-year deal, but he said, given these poverty-stricken childhood, his family and all these friends, it's changed their lives, him playing football over there. So he saw beyond European football trophies and Copa Libertadores and stuff. He saw what he could do beyond the game. And you think Duran come from a small village in Colombia. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. So this guy's on almost £500,000 a week.
I suppose you could look at it the other way. If you're Duran, you could be thinking, look, how old is he? 21, 20, 21, something
21,
like that.
22, yeah.
He could be thinking, I'll spend 3 years out here, make me money, go back to Europe. I suppose he could think like that. But I don't know. I just think that I've watched a couple of those games. They're shit.
Oh, they're tragic, mate. They're tragic. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo at 40 years of age scoring hat-tricks, like, it's a piss take.
Oh, it's a piss take. So how is Duran going to become as good a player in 3 years' time as what he would have done if he was playing in the Premier League? He's not going to.
No, he's not.
As John always used to say, iron sharpens iron. If you're playing with quality players, you'll keep on improving, keep on getting better. But you go and have a 3-year holiday, which is effectively what he's done.
Yeah, there was a Celtic player, wasn't there? Diogo Jota. He was with us, wasn't he, last summer?
Yeah.
He's only just gone back to Celtic, but the reason why he couldn't come back last season was the fact it was a tax issue, because you've got to be out of the UK for 2 years, and then you can profit off your £250,000 a week wages.
Otherwise you've got to pay him some tax. You got to pay a lump back. And
he weren't even registered in to play their squad, because they bought Neymar. And they said to him, well, you ain't got a spot in the squad.
I know.
So he was out there for a year and he couldn't play.
It's fucking mad, isn't it?
Mental.
Yeah. But anyway, mate, it's been lovely chatting to you. I'm going to go because it is getting close to 11 o'clock. It's been a good show tonight. Yeah. We'll get you on again. We'll definitely get you on again, mate. We'll have a chat. And
100%. We enjoyed it.
If you're interested, I don't know if you know what we're doing next Saturday.
What's this? The
24-hour
24-hour stream. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I know
for a regime change. I don't know. Yeah, so just let me know. You got my number now.
Yeah, sure. No, I'll have a look in calendar and I'll see if the missus will allow me an hour.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, you ain't got to do 24 hours. Don't worry.
No, please.
Yeah.
Please let me do 24 hours.
Yeah.
No, but shout out
like
to Alan Thomas. He was going to do a disco hour for you. He said that in the comments.
Yeah, Alan's a great guy. Yeah, he's on the terraces, so that's fine. Yeah, no, he's quality. So yeah, just like I said, let us know. And if you wanted to, you can literally have a slot. So the people that you do a podcast with, if you wanted to bring the Arsenal fans on, so that all the West Ham fans could abuse them for 2 hours.
Yeah,
you could
I'll definitely do that. Yeah. You know what? Deep down, they're more West Ham than I am because they're born and bred. But Upton Park, they're born and bred there. I'm Romford, so the only time I go West Ham is that area. But they're born and bred. Newham.
So they've probably got a little bit of a soft spot for West Ham, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah, they say it many a time on our podcast. Like I know we take the piss out of each other, but they generally were celebrating us winning European Conference League as much as we was because it's ingrained in them. But but they're good lads.
Good stuff. Well, mate, thanks for jumping on.
No worries, always a pleasure.
And it's been a good show tonight. Thanks everyone. Also, give your podcast and your YouTube channel a shout out, please, mate.
Yeah, so sure. Our YouTube channel is Dad's Our Job Podcast. You can find all our shorts and live streams on there. Our Twitter account is at Dad's Our Job Pod, and the same handle for our Instagram as well. So yeah, we post on there regularly. And if you want to see one of our co-hosts do some cheerleading, because that is his professional job, he's actually a professional cheerleading coach. Yeah, so you can go on his account, which is Bear Drills.
Right. Okay. So, Bear Drills.
Yeah. And he cheerleads. He coaches the Newham cheerleading group there, and they're well known for producing superstars at national level as well.
Oh, bloody hell!
Yeah,
good stuff. Okay. Well, thank you everyone in the chat. Thanks everyone for the super chats tonight. Just quickly flash them up again. Got Stevie Bell. I think he's gone to bed now. Alan Thomas sent me a super sticker. And £2 from you. Thank you very much. That's it. Thanks very much. We'll speak to you all soon. And don't forget, drop a like on your way out if you can. That's not the love heart in the live chat, by the way. Come out the live chat. Click the thumbs up on the video. It does really help us. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon. Come on your irons.
Come on your irons.